Why do you hang around with the worst crowd, the worst crowd? It's gonna hurt me, 'cause you're with the worst.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 25 of Third Man In, being recorded well in advance. I don't think we've ever done one quite this far out before, so this is kind of fun for us. Be a little bit of an experiment. It's also kind of an interesting episode because it's kind of the first regular episode where we've got two guests.
Two-parter.
We've got Dave Salter coming in to sit down with us. He's actually going to be in the room, which is cool. Dave's working on a new book about the WHA and was in town talking to Mr. Terry Ryan Sr. So he's coming by to sit down by for a bit. And
He's still there, though. Senior hasn't let him leave yet.
That's it.
Dave came in the other day at 2 in the afternoon, but it was a Friday. He left at 2 in the morning.
Oh, man. Oh, I can only imagine.
He did his interview with Senior on a Friday. I said, I don't know. You're going to be on the Beers for sure.
Yeah.
2 on Sunday he left.
That's
just so everyone's like 2 on Sunday.
I can only fucking imagine. And then we actually have our first comeback. We got Arron Asham coming back for a bit to chat to us about his golf tournament, which we're recording this probably a week and a half out from when the golf tournament's going to happen. But you guys are probably going to hear this just a few days before. So if you're in the Portage La Prairie, Portage La Prairie or La Prairie?
Portage La Prairie.
Okay.
In Winnipeg, I think they affectionately know it as just Portage.
Okay.
But,
yeah, when I was in Winnipeg like last week, I noticed like Portage Ave and shit like that. Like
yeah. I'd like to know. There are a lot of references. His place. So Portage La Prairie is about. In memory, I remember being like 45 minutes or an hour from Winnipeg. It give or take 10 minutes. It's not that far, and it's his tournament. We'll get into it, but it's just awesome. It's Aaron's chance to play, raises money for people that don't have it. Hockey's becoming an elitist sport. I've said it for a while, and Ash really takes care of his own, and a lot of them are. A lot of them have been following his career. They're from his hometown, although it's not restricted to his hometown. But we'll get into it when we get him on here.
And it's great. It's actually something sort of similar to that. It's kind of what I was working on when I was up in Winnipeg a couple weeks ago. So it's kind of cool to have Ash back to just chat. It's also great to have Ash back because he's such a fucking great storyteller. But either way, this is episode 25, I just said, right, of Third Man In, brought to you by Head Check Health. I'm Mike Hickey, joined by...
It's Charles.
And
it's Terry Ryan.
So... yeah, I know. Like it's weird. We're recording this, like I said. We're recording on Monday the 8th. This will go up on Tuesday the 15th, 16th, something like that.
Oh, this is great.
So it'll be like a bit of a gap here. So
I can say a bunch of things that I think are going to happen, and they'll be completely
when
wrong.
When has that ever worked for you? We did 2 months of playoff predictions that didn't fucking work out either.
They'll be completely wrong, and then someone will be like, what's wrong with this guy?
Do you remember when we recorded right before fucking Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals? Do I need to fucking remind you of that?
Like I said, I'll predict a bunch of stuff. It'll be completely wrong.
By the time you're hearing this, that's all you ever do on this fucking show.
By the time you're hearing this, Jake Gardiner signs anywhere else but Toronto on a 1 year.
All right. So, so we're recording this a bit out. It's a little bit weird for us, but here we are. So how's everybody doing?
Doing pretty good. It's a gorgeous day here. July 8th, and summer showed up in St. John's today. Sweat through a blouse.
Actually showed up yesterday. It's all right. I'm liking actually having some nice weather and stuff, but I've been mostly hungover and didn't get to enjoy it.
I think we both lost yesterday.
Yeah, I'm told yesterday still happened, but I tapped out of it.
We had our ball hockey provincials the weekend, so it's like the A, B, and C divisions, the women's division. So most of it took place in the Goulds, and it was a really odd matchup. So our Masters team, now Masters is over 35.
Yeah. Was it Masters that you guys won in Bahamas with? Is that...
That was the over 35 Canadian team. You're right, yeah. And up until this point...
All right, I'm old enough to play now. All right. You've been waiting for me all this time.
It makes me feel old even saying it because... And in Newfoundland, this will be my last year, but I also play for the Newfoundland Black Horse team, and that's just the open division, and I'm probably going to be on the fourth line in this one. And Zach O'Brien, Marcus Power, Connor Donahue, Cody Donahue, those boys drive the ship. But when we get to the All Newfoundland, so that's in a month from now, and we're hosting the Nationals.
Yep.
But so what we did, our Masters team, which I'll be playing on in a month as well, so we put our team in the All Newfoundland, the B division.
Yeah.
The A division was only 4 teams. There was Labrador, Bonavista, Gander, and Powerhouse from St. John's that got upset. But we all playing it, so all
like
the members
upset or like were they just angry about stuff?
I was right there. I was actually just gonna.
I believe both. They got upset and then they got upset.
Yeah.
Was it the boys from Labrador that upset?
It was a great. No, actually, so Gander did. Jordan Marr, a great player. So Jordan just finished a 4 or 5 year career in the Q, and he was a late pickup for Team Canada. The Worlds happen every 2 years, and they happened a month ago. The World's Men's Open Division. There was 5-6 Newfoundlanders on the team. They won the bronze, which is great. It's not one of those things in ball hockey where Canada wins every year. Yeah. I was on the team that won last. That was 2007.
Oh wow!
Other than the Masters last year,
yeah.
so it was a big deal last year. A lot of people see Canada raising a hockey trophy, and they think that. That's just obvious that Canada were going to win, but no, Italy give us a run. Italy beat us in the round robin last time.
Oh wow!
Yeah, Greece. It's a lot of. It's encouraged in a lot of these places that there's no ice. They still, someone goes there, and a lot of times it's a Canadian with dual citizenship. They all have to have dual citizenship, but Team Italy is 10 guys from Canada and then a few from Italy. But in any case, we had our all Newfoundland, but we lost the B semifinal, so the Masters team kind of went, I guess we're all the best Masters guys around, so we try to hang with the 20-odd-year-olds and put ourselves in that in division. But then there was an under-19 team that does the same. They're in under-19, but they shove themselves up a division into the men's. So we ended up playing the under-19 team who play real hard, and ball hockey is one of those sports. It's not as physical like open ice hitting or anything, but you don't have gear on, and you can rub out along the boards, and you're going to try to win. So you got to find the balance between. And I'm out there like literally – Dawson Mercer will get drafted high. You didn't hear about him this year much because Alex Newhook, but he was only a 16-year-old turning 17-year-old this year, last season, and he had 30 goals for Drummondville. I expect Dawson to go high in the draft next year in the NHL. He'll be a real success story. But him, along with like Jack Keogh, who I grew up watching play with my stepson, and there's James O'Brien, all these kids kind of either I coached at one point or helped out or helped them get away. There's a couple people there that needed billets or whatever, so I helped them out. So it was really odd to go out there and really play hard. You play shinny sometimes, but, we want to win the provincial championship. So it was one of those, and a couple times there was some skirmishes in front of the net. They ended up beating us. I don't mind saying it. Usually I'm the man on the draw, man. I'm 70% in ball hockey. And Jack Keogh just stole it right off me. Face off in our zone. He won it back to the point. We just ended up behind the net. Jack made a great pass, and they won it 2-1.
Oh wow!
At that point, is it an age difference or is it generational difference?
Yeah, it's both, and it's like, and that's why it's odd because some of those guys will be lucky enough to play on Black Horse, and this will be my last year with that. But it's good for me. A lot of these kids I encouraged to get into ball hockey in the first place. When I started, there wasn't a lot of ice hockey players playing. I think the fear was you'd hurt your ankle or whatever.
Yeah.
My first world championship in 2003, for example, Hockey Canada wasn't on board. A lot of people, Alexander Burrows kind of broke the mold. He was playing in the East Coast League. And
right, because I remember, I remember he
had
he had a huge year with you guys playing ball hockey before.
Yeah, he was the MVP top scorer at the Worlds twice, and but he was playing in the East Coast League, and he'll often say you can't glide in ball hockey, so it automatically makes you a better defensive player. When you go from playing defense in ball hockey, I don't mean defense the position, I mean defensively, because you have to. It's so much space. Because you get the blue line, you're allowed. Once you get the blue line, it's called floating blue line. You can take it back to the red line, and you have half the rink as your offensive zone. So pitcher playing in the European style surface with half the rink as the offensive zone. If you miss your guy, if you just don't, it's real hard. It's like, look how hard it is to guard guys in basketball under the rim. If they get free, they're going to get that shot. Well, pitcher a surface 6 or 7 or 10 times as big as that. Yeah. So. If you're, and I play center, so it's like real hard sometimes to find that balance, man. But so anyway, and in 2005, I think it was, Hockey Canada got on board. In 2007, we won again in Germany. Now that was my third world, and all of a sudden there started to be some guys playing ice hockey. Now it's the 6 guys we had just represent Canada from Newfoundland all play ice hockey. In this tournament, the under-21 team was pretty much very similar to the under-21 hockey team, if you were to pick it. I'm sorry, under-19. Anyway, it's a lot of hockey players, and I'm very proud of the way we've come along. We've come a long way. It was a really odd tournament from my perspective to go out and battle against some of the kids. And, when I battle, I'm not going to take it easy. I'm not going to elbow you in the face. But, if I'm going to win a face-off, I'm going to try to win the face-off. I'm going to So it was also a little bit different for those guys because, I'm not going to hurt you, but if you're front of the net and the ball's there and it's open, you're going to get a whack. That's just the way it goes.
Well, I mean, the other thing is I mostly play shinny Friday afternoon hockey with you, but even last weekend we played in a rec softball, a co-ed softball tourney together, and you were chirping from the outfield. I saw a competitive streak in you I haven't seen when we played on a team together before, right?
That's true. That's true.
I see it's one of those I could see how Jesse gets turned on as soon as there's something that you can tell that you very much live by the whole if you're going to keep score you might as well win.
That's
kind of philosophy.
If we're
right?
here, we may as well win. I'm not going to sit there and try to steal second and slide into your. But if someone hits the ball, I'm going to run as hard as I can. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
It's the same in the ball hockey. But now there's some. I often say I've gotten so many silvers in certain sports and. It's often crushing to lose, But when
it's always crushing to lose.
Yeah, it can be.
Are you a lose gold guy or are you a one silver guy?
In what?
No, you lose gold.
You lose gold. Okay.
You only say
no. I'm a win silver.
Okay,
I'm very proud of my.
Okay,
on a world level, I got one Masters. Okay, so I got one Masters. I've only played in it 1 year. The others in the Open division, I got 2 World Championships. I got a bronze, a silver, and a fifth. And looking back, especially, the silver we lost in Slovakia 3-1. I had Chris Sparks, one of my good friends, playing on my wing. Ian Moores was assistant coach from CBN. I look at it as, and there was 8,000 people there in Bratislava.
Wow.
I look at it as having won a silver medal on an international stage with my friends. But guys, it takes a lot of losing.
Oh, it does.
I started playing for Canada when I was under 16 in hockey. We lost to the Czech Republic. And I broke my stick off on a guy. I couldn't handle it at first. I was not always like that. It takes experience. And having gone to these every year, I can look at that. Immediately when the game was over, though, I looked at them celebrating and I said, those kids are so happy to beat us. I mean, we got a few guys on our team that have played at a world level and they look up to us and we've coached them, whatever. And we're still competitive. I mean, my right wing was Dale Sullivan, a 6th-round pick for Dallas Stars, who still can run like a bullet. 36, I think Dale is. 37. But in any case, you go out and you try to win, but, I saw them celebrating, and that was a learning experience for them. Had they, things like the NHL playoffs, they happen once a year. For these kids, they're probably not going to be on the national team. They're going to their own under 21. But for them to beat us, and then they won in the final, they won 1-0. The goalie stood on his head. So these kids learn how to win at a young age, and that's what I mean sometimes. And in the final even, Connor Donaghy, Mike Dyke, Mark Yetman, some of the best players around. A couple guys on my senior team, Brandon and Mark Fuhr, Matty Fuhr, sorry. A lot of guys, they were stacked, and they lost. But Gander had Adam Hallwell, who won the Memorial Cup last year with Acadie Bathurst. He's on his way up. Jordan Marr, like I said. Joel Bishop, who played with Halifax this year in the Memorial Cup final. I'm just want to congratulate them more than anything and let people know that, it's alive and well, ball hockey here. And that's one of the ways we train. And it was an absolutely unreal weekend. Almost every game was close.
And so the other tournament is here again, is it?
In a month from now, at the beginning of August, I believe it's the 6th to the 9th, we host the men's A, the Masters A, and the female A national championship. So it'll be Team Newfoundland. We'll have 3 entries, and we'll have 3 hosts, so we'll have 6 teams.
Okay.
We're our Masters team that won last year will be in the tournament.
Okay.
But we also have a host team.
Okay.
So you get 2 and they're damn good. They're it was hard to pick half the guys in our team. So, and we won it last year, so you want to go with loyalty, but there's some guys that didn't go and they're damn good players, and now it's here, so they'll have more leeway. It's tough every year for people that aren't being paid to get to the Nationals.
Oh,
as well,
for sure.
right? So you see the level of commitment and passion from these players, second to none.
If we want to watch, where can we go, Terry?
Yeah, so it's if you go online, it'll be the cbha.com, and they'll have the schedule. Now, we're going to play games at the Glacier and at Jack Byrne, and I believe CBS, but I'm not sure because how it's going to be divided, I'm not sure. Sometimes they'll go most female games will be here, most of the men's open division will be here, and the Masters, just to make it easy, and sometimes someone gets to keep a dressing room maybe. So I'm not sure the exact details, but I know it's a big deal. Ryan Dixon from the Hockey News is coming here to do a story.
That's great.
In Newfoundland, when we host, we often like sell it out and stuff. Last summer, for example, was the World Junior, and I went to a couple games, just like say Czech versus Slovakia, and the Glacier was packed. Like people get, like I said, in ball hockey, we have a chance to win on a national level, so people go watch. So I expect a lot of fans at this, and if you follow my social media in the next month, and you'll be well aware of, and there's lots of great teams coming in. Almost every province is represented.
Yeah, I'm assuming if anybody follows the show, they probably follow you already. It's probably how they're listening to us in the first place.
But Terry Ryan 2020 on Instagram.
Yeah, and 20 on Twitter. But we'll also repost anything that will come through 3MI, and we want to be around for that. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Tier, who was on the Labrador team? I'm just wondering.
Who was on Labrador? Their best. I hate to say best player, but they're over the few years, the guy who's been there the most and has played with our Black Horse team a few times is Andrew Dooland.
Okay.
He's real good. Scotty Clark's real good. They got they had a guy Mitchell Normore. He's actually from CBS, but he played there for some reason this year, and he was real good. They're good. They run hard. I would say the only thing that they lack is playing competitive teams all year, because they have to go up there and split up and then play in a league. They can't have that one team and play in Labrador. They're going to crush everybody 20-0. Yeah. I find halfway through the tournament they're ready, but it's hard to just come and be ready at the pace that these guys. I mean, you're looking at these guys, Marcus Power, and them just finished playing a fucking professional hockey season and are running for the last month, and that's just one. There's all of them have. So to come from Labrador and to just come down, try to jump right into the pace, it's hard. But they run you hard, and they got a few. There was one guy, I forget his name, to be honest, but he's asked to play on Team Black Horse. There'll be a few representatives for sure on the Newfoundland squad. But guys, we got two wicked guests coming in.
We do have our first guest coming up very shortly. So we are going to take a minute to hear from our good friends at Head Check Health, and then we'll be right back.
Concussions are serious business. Concussions and post-concussion syndrome had a huge effect on my career. Whether you're a player, a concerned parent, a coach, a risk manager, or an executive, they're a major area of concern. Head Check Health has developed software and services that improve the way concussions are assessed, tracked, and managed at all levels of sport. Their goal is to create a safer environment of play by giving better tools to the individuals responsible for documenting and assessing concussions and providing better data to administrators to make real health and safety improvements. Head Check currently works with organizations across the country like the Canadian Junior Hockey League, BC Hockey, Rugby Ontario, the Western Lacrosse Association, and more to advance their concussion management practices. If you're interested in learning more how HeadCheck can help your team or organization, please visit headcheckhealth.com or email info@headcheckhealth.com. That's headcheckhealth.com or info@headcheckhealth.com, and tell them TR sent you. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you good friend of mine, a little different guest, involved with hockey, but not so much as a player. This gentleman was, the original host of Out of the Fog, one of them. He's the director of communications for the St. John's Ice Caps, which were an AHL team, and that just finished a year or two ago. Dave Salter is his name, and Dave lives in Halifax and is just writing a book right now on Atlantic Canadians in the WHA. It's very interesting. I'm not sure if it has a title yet. Dave, you can say more about it. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks, Terry. It's great to be here, and you're right, we go back a long time.
First of all, I should have mentioned we worked together. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
That's right. We forgot about. There's so much in I'm almost kind of like an actor, and you can identify with this. I almost should have an IMDb thing of all the stuff, because I did. You're right.
That's why I struggled in the way in, because you've done so many things.
Yeah. No. I was the host, and you were the I guess the analyst on Rogers Television for the Fog Devils back in the day. If anyone can remember the St. John's Fog Devils of the Quebec Major Junior.
I think we were talking about this a couple weeks ago when we had Luke on.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah, about how you guys were doing that.
So Dave and Dave also, I just kind of wing the intro. You're also a scout for the
the Worcester Railers, in the ECHL.
Yeah, thought so. A lot of we wear a lot of hats, like myself.
Right. It's the first time we've had a guest that it's like not a hockey player, so it's something that I can aspire a career in hockey. It's like the first time I'm like, ooh, how'd you get there? Like, how this happened?
And this is the thing, Dave. Before we even start, I didn't even think of this, but if you're a scout, and I'm not an employed scout, although I fucking should be, but I often just see players and call teams away, maybe get them there, or get them a good situation with their billets, or maybe coach will call me and ask me what kind of a kid it is. So I'm very much involved. But what really helped me for that whole generation of players 10 or 11 years ago in the queue was that Dave and I, we were analysts for Rogers watching the games, so we were forced to watch all the home games, and guys like coming through like Luke Adam, Ryan Graham, Scott Brophy, great captain, great story. We saw
Jake Allen, the goaltender.
Jake Allen, yes, and all the teams coming in.
Yeah.
I remember that was my first taste of watching Mark Tobin, who is another great story we should have on here sometime.
We got to have Tobin on.
Tobin's played with Sidney Crosby for 2 years in Rimouski, and it was a second-round pick.
And they're still really tight friends, right?
Yes, but he flies them down all the time, especially when they win the Stanley Cup. He's been
especially when it happens, all the times it happens.
Three of these things now Tobes has been on. And Crosby takes him right as soon as they win it. He takes him and he takes him down there for a week.
That's wicked.
But anyway, so Dave, you left. The Ice Caps left. Now we do have a successful hockey team in town now called the Newfoundland Growlers, but you didn't want to wait around. I'm sure you could be working with them as well. But you said, "I'm going to Halifax now." Tell us why and what's transpired since you've been there. This was what, 2017? You went?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, almost 2 years ago. To the day or to the week that I left. I took a job. I was looking for work here in St. John's after the Ice Caps folded or moved to Laval, or relocated, I guess, and wasn't able to find anything in the field. Which predominantly I've been working in public relations communications over the past 10 years or so. And so I moved to Halifax, which has kind of been a second home. My dad, is from Nova Scotia, and I've lived there on multiple occasions. And moved back and worked with a private company there in communications, and it wasn't a good fit. So I moved on and pursued some other avenues. So I've been doing consulting work there. Started doing the scouting a year ago with Worcester, and that's been a great relationship. And as much as I've been working in public relations communications for a decade or so, I have a journalism degree, and I consider myself a writer at my core. If someone asks me what I am, I'm a writer. And like any writer, I guess we all think we have a book in us, right? And you certainly did that and did it quite well, and, have had great success with it. But I just could never find what my hook was going to be. Like, why would anyone want a book that I'm writing? What would I write about? And so a few months ago, I started following, I guess, the exploits of Jeff Pearlman, who's a writer. He used to be a writer with Sports Illustrated. I've been following him on Twitter for a while, but I started following this trend or these posts that he was making on social media about this USFL book he was writing, the United States Football League, which was around in the mid '80s. Doug Flutie played there, Jim Kelly played there, Herschel Walker played there. Donald Trump owned a team, and that was kind of his hook. That was timely, right? So I started thinking about USFL, and then I was thinking WHA. If he can do a book on the USFL, maybe I could do one on the WHA. But do I do one on the entire history of the WHA? I would need a big advance to do something like that, to take something like that on, to talk about Bobby Hull and Gordie Howe and interview all these people, that are still with us. And it just seemed like too big an endeavor, especially for someone who has not written a book before, and a publishing company would have to take a chance on. So I started thinking more about it, and I said, maybe if I go with a little bit more of a narrow scope and look at Atlantic Canadians, because frankly, they're the ones that I want to talk to anyway. They're the ones that I'm interested in personally anyway. So I, did up a book proposal, and I thought it was going to be a tough sell bringing it to a publishing company because, unless there's a lot of diehard. I mean, even if you're a big hockey fan, the WHA doesn't necessarily register for people, right? So I said, this is going to be a tough sell,
But the people it does register for.
If it doesn't register, it's their loss.
Yeah,
the second TR told me about this, I was like, where can I buy it? Where can I pre-order it?
WHA fans are cultish.
People, right.
So if there's enough.
Yeah. So the feedback I've gotten from the general public and stuff is like they're salivating for it, right?
Right here.
Yeah, but anyway, so I pitched it, and I said, how am I going to pitch this? So I won't bore you with all the details of the proposal, but basically my angle was Wayne Gretzky. Heard of him?
Yeah.
Gordie Howe. Heard of him?
Terry Ryan Sr.
Yeah, well,
I cut you off. Bobby fucking Hull, Derek Sanderson.
But even like Mark Messier.
Yes.
Heard of him?
Yeah.
Jacques Plante. He's the guy that invented the goalie mask.
Yeah.
So then they're all kind of like, yeah, I know those names or most of those names. I'm like, well, they all played in this league called the World Hockey Association in the 1970s, which, went against the NHL, went up against the NHL. And they're like, oh, and you know what? There's 20 guys from Atlantic Canada. There's 4 from Cape Breton, 3 that are still with us.
20 on the nose?
Like give or take, yeah.
Okay.
Because they're still in the process. Like there was a guy, Hal Willis, who was from Liverpool, Nova Scotia, that I tracked down in Alberta, and Hal's like, well, I'm not really from Nova Scotia, so I'm still kind of
I know what
Dave,
you're
the
saying.
only reason I ask for specific, because my father and I have often tried to come up with that.
Yeah.
And I believe we tapped out at like 15, so there's probably 5 or 6 that I didn't know about that you're coming up with.
Yeah. So I said, that you've got 20 guys from this region. And the other hook that I guess that I brought, I said, it's stories. It's stories of Atlantic Canadians who did cool things in a cool, crazy period in time and had, in some cases, lots of money. So when I pitched it from that angle, they went for it.
It's 3 of my favorite things right there.
Because these are stories that for most of these guys have not been told. Like Kevin Morrison of the Indianapolis Racers assisted on Wayne Gretzky's first ever pro goal. He was the only assist on that.
The Kevin Morrison that played in Stephenville?
Kevin Morrison
he
that
played
played
the
in
Newfoundland Senior fucking League, which keeps coming back every episode.
Yeah. And I mean, what's so cool about it too is like, and I mean, we've talked about it a bit too about regards to like the personality of hockey that kind of peaked out in the 70s. It was because the WHA allowed it to, and it kind of forced the NHL to kind of loosen the reins a bit to just even compete with it.
Yeah.
Like Bobby Hull getting a fucking fur coat and shit and just like parading around with his $1 million. Like he signed like the highest. He's the highest paid hockey player of all time with the deal that brought him to the WHA.
Well,
right?
Sanderson.
I believe he was Sanderson.
Sanderson was, I think, the highest paid athlete at one point
At the time,
of the 4 sports.
Yeah, he almost went down to plane crash.
Yeah, your dad was telling me the other day about. I can't remember who it was that played with him on the Saints, but he was friends with Sanderson. And Sanderson pulled up outside the rink in his Rolls Royce. Yeah. I mean, and everyone that followed that league knew that Derek did indeed drive a Rolls Royce.
Bought it in cash.
He could. Yeah.
Bought it in cash. Actually, Have you read his book? He went in and they laughed at him.
Yeah.
And we're like, no, we can't sell you. And he would not leave until they sold it to him in cash.
Yeah, and I think that what it was is that they kind of snubbed their nose at him when they saw him come up with long hair and stuff, and he was like, "You bastards, I'll show you. I got the money right here."
Yeah,
right?
went full Pretty Woman on him. Like, you guys work on commission, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You got it. Right.
For those following at home, that money didn't last too long.
Dave, there's some. I tell you what stands out to me about the WHA. There's not stands out, but some peculiar things like the blue pucks. I don't know how prominent those were, but my dad collects pucks and he has a case full of blue ones. I know at least in Minnesota they use a blue puck. My dad played in Minnesota in St. Paul, and they had all glass boards. There weren't really boards. It was it was all glass all the way down.
All the way down.
Those are two, and I know the refs wore different uniforms. I think
the refs wore red and white.
Is there anything else that you came across?
So the blue pucks, I think, were a short-term experiment because they couldn't freeze. For some reason, they couldn't freeze properly, like a black puck. I don't understand the physics of it all.
Okay.
But that was the issue. The unlimited curves, and I got to see Bobby Hull stick at your dad's house, and I'd heard about those curve stick, but this was insane. I tweeted it out a few days ago, but I mean it was.
Oh yeah.
So that's one thing for me, Dave Salter, to shoot a puck with a curve like that. Can you imagine the with Bobby Hull with the brute strength of that man plus that gigantic curve?
And some goalies having like little to no face protection.
Oh yeah, I mean,
because that's the thing is at that point, like it's still. I don't think it was
some. Yeah, there was a guy.
It was grandfathered in, right?
Yeah, there was a guy with the Racers at that time, Andy Brown, who this Indianapolis Racers, who wasn't wearing a goalie.
My dad often talks about. Often talks about that era of hockey, often being every single night. But but one of the things he brings up, he's like, hockey, like he said, if you were around at that time, he's like, you have to think of the context that all that was coming out. It's like often when he talks about the Beatles, think about that time. He's like, everybody's stick was straight. And he said, all of a sudden, within a few years, there was guys like Bobby Hull, Stan Mikita that had it curved and were shooting at 100 miles an hour up by your head. Yeah. And the goalies still hadn't come over and adapted yet, and no one wanted to wear the helmet. Now, I'm not saying it was smart to wear no face mask before that, but goalies preferred to see the puck, and a lot of it was, most of them were coming in low.
Yeah,
and
unless it was tipped.
Yeah, unless it was tipped.
Generally,
and you got to go down and make a save. So I'm not saying they didn't risk their lives, but when Bobby Hull started shooting at 100 over 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
With the
now,
curve. Yeah.
and the goalies hadn't adapted. So my dad explains, he's like, there was a 3 or 4 year period there where like people were going, holy shit, like something's gonna happen
And
here.
The Wild West.
And to clarify, the NHL allowed curved sticks, full stop. The WHA allowed unlimited curves. The NHL had a limit on it. The WHA, you could do whatever you wanted with it. And Hull, for one, if you're a hockey fan, will know that he always just say early in the game he'd fire one high around the goalie's head just so just to get him thinking, right?
Yeah.
And then he can fire one low after that. But when you get a puck like that around your head,
You
around
flinch
your ears,
every other time that guy wants it.
Yeah, it's like you don't know what I'm fucking capable of.
No,
Wait.
it's
a little warning shot.
Like I know from playing in fucking shinny games what it's like when you get a guy coming down and the first couple shots he takes go up around your head. Every time he comes in, you're flinching.
Yeah.
And I mean I'm a terrible goalie, but it's kind of one of those inherent. Everybody kind of deals with that because it's human fucking nature that if a guy puts 2 or 3 up around your head, next time you see him winding up, you're gonna kind of brace because it may go right off your dome. Like you just can't prepare for it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, that's interesting. So you found 20 players, say, give or take.
Yeah.
How many have you already interviewed at this point? And I guess you don't want to divulge, but have you heard any stories that you're like, what the fuck? Like, is this? I'm sure you must have.
Have you heard about Liza Minnelli?
You can't get too far into it.
So I've had a couple of, I will say, pre-interview conversations. One with Peter Marsh from Halifax, and one of my main.
Did he play for Winnipeg?
Played for the Cincinnati Stingers. Yeah, he did play for the Winnipeg Jets in the NHL. You're right.
Yeah, I thought so.
So that was one just to confirm he was from Halifax, because it's funny if someone from Newfoundland played in pro hockey or the NHL, you would know. But I could never get anyone to confirm to me in Halifax, is he really from Halifax, or is he from Halifax like Bobby Smith is from North Sydney, who's not really from North Sydney? He was born and left, right?
It is
Bobby
funny.
Smith will
From
tell
here, everybody knows.
Yeah, you would know, right?
Yeah.
We all know that Keith Brown's not really from Corner Brook, and Dave
He's not
Fichette's
from
not
Corner
really
Brook.
from Grand Falls, right?
Well, if he was, he'd be the highest born Newfoundland player ever,
so-
but he's not now, is he?
Yeah, that's right.
Or drafted, I mean. Anyway.
So I spoke to Peter Marsh, and he lives in Chicago, and so we're going to set up an interview. And like I said, I wanted to confirm he was from Chicago. Got Kevin Devine, I spoke to at the Memorial Cup. He's from PEI, and he played with the San Diego Mariners, Indianapolis Racers, a couple of teams. He's actually got a real big job with the Buffalo Sabres. He's like a director of player personnel.
Is that why? So Memorial Cup was, again,
In Halifax,
for the listeners that have a short memory, was in Halifax just a couple months ago.
Yeah.
So wow, that's a layup for you. So you're doing a book.
No.
And there's
so another thing that I'm glad
Wow.
I remember the Memorial Cup. Don Koharski. Linesman in the WHA.
Yeah.
His first
No.
his first year of pro hockey was 78, 79 in the WHA as a linesman right out of high school. So, he didn't play, but that's good enough for me. Who's going to have better stories than a lineman, you know what I mean, of all the interaction with players and everything else, right?
Yeah.
So, had a conversation with him, got his information. Who else? One of the best hockey nicknames of all time. Frank Seldom Beaten. He used to be Frank Never Beaten until he was, and then he was Seldom Beaten.
Oh, that's great.
I haven't heard that reference in about a decade, man. And you just, the wheels are turning in my head now.
So Frank
How was that?
Frank is from Antigonish, and actually Frank got me Peter Marsh's number. So I'm meeting up with Frank this summer in Antigonish. So they're the kind of the pre-interviews, but the actual sit-down interviews I've done, got Gerard Gibbons, who's from St. John's, who has been a police officer, just retired recently in Halifax. He actually only lives about 10 minutes from me, so... he's from St. John's, like I said, a retired police officer, played with the Toronto Toros, and had a great conversation with him. So it's funny, I've got some stories, but I can't tell too much because I want you to get the book.
Buy the book, yeah.
But let's just say there was a scene in Slapshot where there's a big brawl and the cops show up.
Yeah.
Gerard played in that game. That game was actually a game in the North American Hockey League, which was the minor league of the WHA, and that actually happened. And I was able to find actual news clippings from that. It happened in I think it's Clinton, New York, with the Mohawk Valley Comets, who Gerard was playing with at the time, and they were playing the Johnstown Jets, who were actually, in the movie, the Charleston Chiefs. And, the whole thing when the cops show up and they have to get bailed out, like that actually actually is based on a real incident, and Gerard was one of the guys who was in that brawl with the with the Carlson brothers, who are actually the Hansons, right?
Because
it was
that was
a Newfoundlander that was a part of that. So that was crazy.
Did he start it?
He was ready to fight one of them. The other guy came out of nowhere and clocked him from behind. So it's basically like, I'm like, this is. So I've started to realize that Slapshot is not a comedy; it's a documentary. Yeah,
which is kind of what you want to hear, right?
Hey, man, I've often said it though, Dave. I've in all the hockey movies I've seen, I played in that fucking rink too down in Johnstown, guys. It's exactly the same. The whole town, and they went for big guys, and I guess because the movie being part of it, like they went for that kind of team. Yeah. And it was a really tiny. We had to cross over. We had to cross over the concourse. Yeah. Like on a carpet kind of thing, and walk down through. Anybody who's played in Johnstown will tell you this. Like walk right down through like section E, and then the last two seats of the bench were bucket seats that were part of the crowd. So like the guy will be sitting next to you, drinking his beers, eating his popcorn, and you're sitting in a bucket seat with your gear on if you're the backup goalie or the last player. There's no room. And they were just on you. Now, it was a great hockey experience. I loved every minute of it. But that whole thing, and then the more I looked into it, because my dad played with the Carlsons, right?
They were the Carlsons.
Were the
Jack,
Hansons
Jeff,
in the movie.
And Steve.
But,
he
one of them wasn't in the movie.
Yeah, they had to get Dave
Hansen, who was Dave Killer Hansen, who they based Dave Carlson on.
Yes,
was playing. Played the third one because he got called up to Edmonton.
That's right. Yeah,
they were
the Edmonton Oilers farm club at the time.
A lot of them,
right?
were hockey players. I get that. That's why I think. But anyway, yes. So Dad told me a lot of ins and outs of that. This is the first time I ever heard that was a real incident, though. That's fucking wild.
I couldn't believe it.
I can't believe it either. But
and you got the guy who's like,
that was my first interview. I was like, I wonder how this WHA book's gonna go.
Yeah.
And he said it because it wasn't technically WHA; it was the WHA minor league team. I'm like, that's fine. But it was kind of at the end of the conversation, I sort of said, what about the tough guys and stuff? And he said, well, I did fight one of the, Carlson brothers or whatever. He goes, well, actually two of them or whatever. And then it was like, whoa. Like it was at the end of the interview. And I was like, I think I might have even called you. I was like, oh my God.
Boys, my fucking phone rang right off the bat. And, if I see Dave's calling me with the story, because otherwise he'll just tweet it. Yeah. So, like, there are times over the years, I'm like, if my phone is ringing, like there's Dave Salter, there's Arron Asham, there's a few more. He's got something to say. Yeah. So he tells me the story, and honestly, I could not believe what I heard.
How could you? That's
Then the thing is,
and the guy's from St. John's.
You think that's where he got the idea to be a cop, though? You think that's where he got the idea to his post-career as a police officer?
That's right.
And to go back,
came in with that fight.
To go back to what I was saying, it really is, like, I really do think Slapshot's the most authentic movie. You might look at some of that and laugh, but that's the way the minor league bar scene is. Yeah. The NHL, you can there's just so many things, and there's so many that would take, I think, a 10-hour movie to really give you what, or watch NHL 24/7. Yeah. There you go. But Slapshot, you might laugh, but there's a Reggie Dunlop on all those teams.
Oh, yeah.
There's a bar that they hang out at. Often the minors you make, and that was the Federal League in the movie, I think.
Yeah, it was Federal League. Yeah.
The Federal League level is like, I don't know, the Sunshine League here or whatever it might be. The Down Coast was the Atlantic Coast League when I played in it. Guys are making $500, $600 a week. Yeah. So, but you got a local bar that sponsors you, right? And they'll give you beers for $1. So you all got to hang out there. They'll give you the free wing. You can like play the role of being a local celebrity, but really, you've really got to kind of hustle. And that movie and the fight. The only thing that was a little bit of break from reality was the stripping at the end.
But you know what?
Who knows?
I was thinking that too. But you know what? In the WHA, Gilles Graton, Gratoony the Loony, streaked in practice because he had taken a bunch of sticks or whatever. Back in those days, they were counting every piece of equipment. And he took a bunch of goalie sticks, a bunch of equipment for some reason. And the trainer said, as penance or for doing that, you had to streak. And because Brian Gibbons, Gerard's brother, and I'll get to that, told me, that happened.
So then in that case, the movie's authentic as there can be.
That's what you start to think.
That's the only part to me. Yeah.
But so also Kevin
like even
Morrison,
the fucking Hansons, I've seen people like that. You think in the era that I came through,
and that's the thing is that the woman who wrote the book, I think, Ann Dowd, her brother
was Ned Dowd.
Yeah, and he
played Ogie Oglethorpe. In the movie.
And people think, like the Hansons putting on the foil. Look, I'm telling you. that shit, like there used to be, think about it, anybody that wanted to only fight for a living, that didn't want to play, but only, and a lot of them came through the 70s. I saw a lot of them in the 90s. I won't go as far, they would have, but the foil was outlawed. Yeah. But we used to put, I never really did this much unless I had a beef, but you'd put tough skin on your hands, so it was a really sticky kind of, picture Coca-Cola, is sticky on a floor surface or something, so you would do that to your knuckles. So when you hit somebody, your hand wouldn't slip off their face. It'd cut you. So you might have a bad fight, but you get 1 or 2 punches in and the guy's cut under the eye. And that was a tactic for a long time. And I was going that, and you'd put Vaseline on your face to guard against it. You'd often have goalie jerseys on so you'd get out of them faster. Yeah. There was all these things that in the movie look absolutely insane, but really... that was happening. I'm not saying it was happening everywhere, but it wasn't as rare as possible as you think.
Yeah, and that's what I'm starting to find out just delving into this book about the WHA, because that league, like I said, was the minor league of the WHA. So Brian Gibbons, I spoke to Brian, Gerard's brother, lives here, just retired from Labatt. Brian played with the Ottawa Nationals, the Toronto Toros, and Denver Spurs.
Great career.
Yeah, good. It played with Václav Nedemansky, who was just inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame with the Toronto Toros, right? So there's another Newfoundland connection. Gerard and Brian both played with Václav in Toronto, and spoke to Brian about him. Brian says he's the best player he ever played with, and they had Frank Mahovlich on that team.
But you know what I like about what you're doing here is that people need to hear these stories.
Oh, but that's
and
his
because
stories.
of let's just say in Newfoundland, we are, like you said, everybody knows who played in the NHL and everything. And for the most part, if you were to say that even now, Brian Gibbons, people would go, "Oh yeah, like he's a good hockey player." They wouldn't realize, I don't think, that all these players came through the WHA, but the 70s itself, that whole era, like it was. I think a lot of people in general don't realize the WHA was so in line with the NHL. Maybe tell us a little bit about the history of that and how it happened. I mean, I have an idea, but I don't think people realize, first of all, that the NHL absorbed 8 teams. Was it 8 or 9?
The NHL absorbed 4 at the end of it.
At the end of it.
At the end of it, yeah.
Wait, but there was more than...
Expansions came after.
Okay.
Yeah, markets were like, hey, hockey survived here, and then...
It's too bad Houston couldn't have survived a couple more years, because that would have...
So it was the Oilers?
So it was the Oilers, the Jets, the Nordiques, and the Whalers.
The Nordiques.
New England Whalers, then the Hartford.
And the Whalers.
Yeah.
They all came into the NHL.
Yeah.
That's actually asterisk. That's why Wayne Gretzky couldn't win Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Because he'd already played a year pro. So that was the 4 teams. Now, was there any other teams? Weren't Atlanta in that league and ended up getting a team?
The 2 teams that were left behind the year previous to that, so 77, 78, Houston had folded. So 78, 79, they went with those 4 teams in the WHA, plus Cincinnati and Birmingham. And you look at that Birmingham lineup, with Ricky Vive, Michel Goulet, Rod Langway, Craig Hartsburg. You imagine Craig Hartsburg, Rod Langway, and Rob Ramage on defense.
That's why I think it's underrated.
Yeah.
It's underrated.
So the WHA at the beginning, when your dad was there, that was before all the Europeans came in and stuff. So you could argue that and I think most historians will tell you that maybe the caliber of the league wasn't as great. But as it went on, when you got the Ulf Nielsen, look at someone asked me the other day who I think the best WHA team was ever, and I think it was 77, 78. You had the Hull, Nielsen, Hedberg line. Kent Nielsen was also on that team. Had over,
absolute name,
magician,
way underrated.
Had
over the
100
annals
points.
of time, he's become one of the most underrated players ever.
One of the most skilled players.
What a skill.
And Lars Erik Schuberg, the defenseman. Glenn Sather says, and you probably can't give a greater compliment to the league than what Glenn Sather says, is that he patterned the Edmonton Oilers, the Wayne Gretzky Edmonton Oilers, the high-flying Curry, Anderson, Messier, Gretzky, after the Winnipeg Jets and their free-flowing style that they had with the Swedes, right, and the Europeans. And so that era of the WHA towards the end of it was, the skill level was great. Yeah. And you also, I don't know if people realize, you can say what you want about exhibition games, but they played about 50 or so exhibition games over the years throughout the 70s, the NHL versus WHA teams, club teams.
Did not know that.
Yeah, so you look at it, the WHA teams won more of them. Had a better win-loss record.
Incredible.
But, again, you could say exhibition games, but still.
But what the general gist I get from it, and, I guess you could say my dad is biased, but he really, if there's a straight shooter in his mind, he's being as honest as he can, and he told me, he said, Terry, it was a great league. I think maybe we heard a little bit in depth.
Yes,
If you were to
100%.
take the first two lines off each team and put them against any of those other teams, and, he started naming those guys that you named, and I'm like, he's got a point.
Yeah.
Like, not only did the WHA didn't just, like, snag a few guys from, like Kovalchuk and, say, Yakupin going over to play in Russia for a year or two, or Yager, a few years ago. They were taking... Yakupov. Yes, you're right.
This is
I'm
my
like
Ron and Don
Yeah,
moment
I'm just
here.
saying I'm being Don Cherry now.
It's forgettable anyway. Yeah.
But let's just you're talking Bobby Hull, you're talking Derek Sanderson, you're talking half of that Oilers dynasty that ended up winning multiple cups.
Mark
yes.
Howe, was a great Howe. Yeah,
Dave Keon was over there.
Dave Keon,
guys, and
Frank Mahovlich. Goes
think
on and
about
on.
this is another marvel of Gordie Howe. I've always said I love him. I don't think he's as talented as the top three, being Lemieux, Gretzky, but he deserves. He's right.
The only
there.
guy ever to be the best player in the league and the toughest player in the league at the same time, though.
And that's why I love him. And I guess the other three, it's such a beauty thing to watch them play. I think they were just so much ahead of everybody. But if you take longevity as something, Gordie Howe has the most games in the NHL, the most goals and all that shit. Or not now, but he's up there in all those categories. Gretzky, I think, beat him for the goals. He spent. He was 52 when he retired, but he spent a lot of years in the WHA. If you count those numbers...
It's funny.
It's insane.
It's funny, Terry, when I talk to the players, and I should mention the other guys, I'll get to it, the other guys that I've interviewed as well, so I just mentioned the two Gibbons brothers, but of course your dad, and I'll mention the other guys. But when I ask them who are the toughest guys, I always want to throw to Steve Durbano and stuff, and Steve Durbano was more, and I've met Steve, and I did a feature story on the Hockey News on Steve before he passed. Steve was more just crazy and dangerous.
He was bird doggish.
Not a bad comparison, actually. But when the conversation about tough players come up, it almost always comes back to Gordie Howe.
Yeah.
They're like, Kevin Morris is like, Gordie Howe, Gordie Howe. I'm like, wow, you guys.
And you're talking about someone who won the Hart Trophy.
And he was in his
Ross Trophy.
40s, late 40s or whatever at this time, right?
So late.
That's the thing.
He was old,
amazing.
man.
He
came back to the NHL.
And he had a
Comes back.
20-year career, retired for 2 years, and then came back because he was like, it'd be fun to play with my sons.
And had 20 goals.
Oh, yeah.
We had 100 points.
Had
the NHL, you're right.
No, I mean, as a 50 or 51-year-old, when he came back, he had 20 goals in Hartford.
His last year in Hartford, he had 15, 26 goals, 42 penalty minutes in 80 games. The year before that, he had 19 and 24 for 43 points. And then
those are his 2 years in his 50s.
Right, that's correct.
Yager was right there, though. He was
in perspective. Now, and Howe was still tough. He wasn't giving people a free pass because he was old. In perspective. So right now, if you take a 31-year-old like Corey Perry, who plays the same kind of way, he's getting old.
Yeah,
Cherry was still.
He just got bought out.
He just got bought out. They're paying him $700,000. He's in his 30s, early 30s, I think. Yeah. If he can give them a 15-goal year or 20-goal year, he's done his job.
Yeah.
And you're talking about Gordie Howe, just for shits and giggles, coming back to play with his kids and still getting 26.
One of the coolest things ever, Gordie Howe wins the Gordie Howe Trophy as MVP of the WHA.
Yeah.
They name it the MVP trophy after him, and he joins the league in the second year and wins the Gordie Howe Trophy.
There's a great Gordie Howe story about when he comes
right
back
there. That's
into
the most underrated story that I've heard about Gordie Howe. I didn't even know that.
When he comes back to the NHL, him and Wayne are at the All-Star game, and it's a big photo op.
And again, made the All-Star game at like 52-year-old.
So him and Wayne are at the All-Star game. Wayne's the young kid, and they make sure they put their stalls together and all this, and he looks over to him, and Wayne is like really nervous, and obviously he looks over to him and says, does it ever wear off, this thing of nervousness? And Gordie looks over to him and says, kid, no, it doesn't. But if you don't mind, I'm going to take a little nap. And he pretended like he was sleeping in the stall. But if you don't mind, I'm going to take a little nap.
You know what, guys? This is true. Again, I don't know why I ever say that, because if it wasn't true. Imagine if I said, guys, by the way, this is false. I have a false story to tell you right now. We're going to waste 3 minutes. No, but Gordie... So
here's a false story. A story you're going to tell is only going to be 3 minutes long.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. True enough. Gordie was our owner in Tri-Cities was Ron Toigo, and Gordie was friends with him. And Ron threw his money around a bit in a good way. I mean, I wouldn't have been there from Newfoundland. Brian Boucher's from Woonsocket. BJ's from fucking Anchorage. We're all playing the Western Hockey League. Like, he went out of his way to make sure that the team was the best it could be. We all had the best of everything, and without breaking the rules, he treated us well. So if he were to pay us, that's against the rules, obviously, right? Like, other than we were allowed our 60 a week or whatever in our billets. But the way he would do it would be like bringing people like that. So honest to God, before the game one time, I'm doing up my skates. No one knew this was going to happen. And just Gordie Howe came to the rink. So he came and he wasn't even going to drop the puck. He came in to talk to us. You'd figure you'd be blabbing that Gordie Howe. He might have done it the next game. I don't know why he was in town. I know that Ron flew him in for the first couple days. And he had to take a piss. And our bathrooms were on one side of the dressing room and the door was on the other. So he couldn't really get around it. So I'm doing my skates up. I'm looking over at Mark Hurley. I'm looking at Damon Lankow. I just remember because they were in those stalls. And I'm doing up my skates, and I look up, and I go, like, what in the fuck just happened? I'm like, is Gordie Howe in the shitter right now? Is Gordie Howe in our dressing room? We didn't, and Ron had meant it to be a surprise.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think so. So I go in, and like my first look at Gordie Howe was just his feet with his trousers down around his ankles. In our, through I didn't open the door and go, Gordie, how do you take a shit? I mean, I just I think it's Gordie Howe. Like, I think Gordie Howe's in there. And sure enough, like, we waited. I went back out, and it was only a few of us that caught it because people were getting ready. Some people were in the weight room. Some people were, getting massaged. And anyway, sure enough, and he stayed. This is how good of a guy he is. So I'm sure Ron paid him a fee to come in. And he chatted with all of us and everything. And at the end of the game, we're like, great to meet you and everything. And a lot of us knew exactly his stats, and he really appreciated that. He came out with us after the game to like Applebee's. Like, he just followed us over there, continued to tell hockey stories to a bunch of hockey players. And literally, I remember him just going, okay, you guys are prospects, right? And me and Lankow were there. I don't think he meant to single us out. We just happened to be there, and we were talking about having Wayne Gretzky's agent. Yeah. And anyway, so he did. He was that. He signed a book for us out of nowhere. He didn't have to do that. Kept talking about hockey, and then the next day before he left, he came into the dressing room, and we were practicing and said, it was nice to meet you guys and everything. Gordie Howe. And then, you know what's funny? He ended up coming back and playing, remember one game?
Yes,
with the Detroit Vipers. Yeah. And I was going to say, that was, like, I was looking at the thing and going, like, this was before he came back from
But that's how good of a guy, guys. It's Gordie fucking Howe, and you would figure, it's going to be hard to get one word out of this guy. Or he fucking stood around because he loved the game.
Well, it's funny. I'll throw in a Gordie Howe story, too.
Of course.
It's probably
you're the one being interviewed, actually.
It's probably the same. It might have been the same time. In 1996, he's doing another book. And I think, when we started to get older, too, you wondered how much of this he really wanted to do and how much his management
that's why
people.
I was curious, yes.
So he's doing a book, and he comes to So if you're coming to Yellowknife, the poor guy's been dragged everywhere across the continent. And as it happens, people always ask me, why were you in Yellowknife? And I always say, well, there was a girl. But anyways, so I'm in Yellowknife as the sports editor of the newspaper. So Gordie Howe comes to town. There's no competing media.
No.
I'm it.
Yeah.
So I know I'm going to get some time with Gordie Howe. So there was a banquet or something they were doing with it as well, a minor hockey banquet. And Gordie wouldn't sit at the head table. He insisted on sitting at one of the tables with the kids. And just tousling everyone's hair and everything. And was such.
You know what's funny? It was around. It was either 95 or 96. I can't remember if I already been drafted or not. But it was one of those years in Tri-Cities.
Makes sense maybe with the
and
geography.
It's very similar, yeah. And you saw with your own eyes, like, isn't that wild to see a guy like that? And he just wanted to come down and hang out with us
because the adults were like kids because they were like, oh my God, it's Gordie Howe, and the kids are just they're kids, and he insisted on sitting with them and not getting caught up in all the pomp and circumstance. But anyways, so when it was over, I wanted to interview him. So. God love Gordie. He made you go through Colleen first. Colleen was there, his wife, and it was his agent and everything else. So that was kind of your test. So, it was around the time that Net Worth had come out, and Gordie was getting slammed for keeping salaries low and taking the team jacket and everything else. So I said to myself, I knew the hook would be with Colleen. Well, hey, Colleen, of course, Gordie actually helped salaries go up when he joined the WHA and legitimized that league, which is true. You could certainly argue that. So she liked hearing that. And
Did your homework.
And she liked that I knew about the WHA and everything else. And it was kind of a cool moment for me. She looked over at Gordy and she said, Gordy, this guy knows his stuff. And it was kind of like the thumbs up that I got. Then I got to interview Gordy. You know, I guess in a way she was kind of policing the morons, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
no, I mean, it's a gatekeeper, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's what the whole thing is, but like, you knew what to
so
that
was,
do
that
it.
was
That's
my
great.
cool Gordy
How
experience.
long did it take the actual NHL to get on board with the escrow payments? I think we missed a year for that. We missed a year for all. The WHA were there from day one, but we had to miss a year of hockey for the NHL to get that.
But I should mention the other guys. So I got the two Gibbons brothers, and your dad, which was amazing.
I mean, how did that fucking?
I know when I tweeted it out, I was there for 8 hours. It sounds like, oh my god, 8 hours. But like, a lot of it was just like shooting the shit like this.
You guys are into
How
music
long was
too.
the recorder going?
And then,
like the whole time?
so we watched The Doors
I figured
live.
that.
We watched
I
Steely
said,
Dan,
how
which is
long
my
is it gonna
all-time
take
favorite
before
group.
the fucking
we
DVDs
watched
come out?
Simon & Garfunkel at Central Park, which was cool. And we watched, Sex Pistols.
That's
and that was after, the interview and stuff. And
Steely Dan and the Sex Pistols. That's a fucking Friday night right there.
Yeah.
And then he'll throw and Simon and the Garfunkel, and he'll throw them all on.
Yeah.
So like you go down there and all his DVDs, most of them. I like collecting the videos. I like those, but so I'll take either. But he likes the live concerts.
Yes,
so like if you go down with Senior on a Friday night, like you're gonna watch 3 live fucking concerts.
It was awesome.
And so you end up.
Yeah, because I love music almost as much as hockey, if not more.
I'm just picturing Senior giving her to the Sex Pistols right now.
Loves
like,
it.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure. And how many times did he tell stories about each song, Dave?
Yeah. No, it was great lyrics and stuff, especially with Steely Dan. We got right into the lyrics. That's my favorite group of all time. But
wow.
yeah, so
We could get right into that
You
at
talked
some
about
point,
the pucks.
Yeah.
The big milk crate full of pucks from his. I got him a really cool shirt.
But what I will say, he collected a puck from every building that he ever played in.
It was.
So
it's crazy.
That's a unique thing.
I'd
as well.
say there was 100 at least. So I got him this cool shirt from 503 Sports, a Minnesota Fighting Saints shirt, the team that he played for. So he was really appreciative of that. And he said, you know what, you take any puck you want out of that bin. And then I started digging through and he goes, you know what, take 5. And so I got 5 pretty cool treasures, one of which was the Johnstown Jets 74-75, like East Division champions puck or whatever, which was awesome, and some WHA pucks. But Terry, your dad was great, great storyteller.
This is the thing, man, Dave. Like, if you were to walk into my basement, I think the first thing you'd go, one of the first things was like, is he a hoarder? He's a collector, but not necessarily, because Dad knows that Dave will appreciate it. So he doesn't care. He's got that thing full of pucks, and he's like, it's got to go somewhere. And he's like, I'm 67. Do the math.
Yeah.
So he's like, these have to go somewhere. And he'd rather them go. And I'll tell you a couple. I got a Cleveland Barons one in the mail to Ken Reed. Ken Reed,
he told me
you and
Kenny
Ken Reed have a lot in common.
Well, Kenny's doing the forward for the book.
Yeah, we're
So
good.
Kenny, if you listen to this,
You both shared affinity for the WHA, for
Yeah.
Heritage of Hockey, for music.
And Ken's from Pictou County, and that's where my dad's from Pictou.
A lot in
so,
common,
yeah,
man.
so it's a lot of lines are crossing.
Gonna give you the test though. Pictou County pizza,
Oh, it's
which
the best
is
pizza of all time.
which is the best place to get it though. This is the Ken Reed test.
Yeah,
because
it's there's actually a place called Pictou County Pizza, but the other one is I can't
Begins with
believe
an A, doesn't it? I forget
It is. It's like a Greek sounding
Well,
name.
there's
I think.
Acropoli,
Acropoli,
or they call
yeah.
it Acropoli
That's
over
the
there.
one-
though.
that's what I was
but
looking
there's
at.
another one, Sam's.
Oh, your Sam's over.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
Sam's
love the
over.
Pictou County pizza, the best pizza of all time, and I'm sure Kenny. Well, I know Kenny would agree with that, and Dan Robertson too, the play-by-play.
Are you
guy for the
living
Canadians.
right in Halifax right now?
Right in Halifax proper, just down from the Halifax Forum, which I love, which is about 100 years old, one of the oldest rinks in Canada, where the V's used to play, and that's where I scout, or I've been scouting the Husky of St. Mary's and Dal games there, right? But
Interesting. And what a great, if you're scouting for the East Coast League, and to me, I would send a lot of scouts to that. I think it's the most underrated
UNB,
CIS.
we can't even hardly get UNB guys in the ECHL because they're going straight to like
know.
NHL camps and development camps and stuff. Like
telling
that's
you.
a juggernaut.
really
It's my
underrated
favorite
league.
hockey to watch from a pure perspective of just hockey. Honest to God, and I've seen it all now. Is the university hockey? But yeah, so got your dad. And the 3 Cape Bretoners. There was 4. John Hanna has since passed. He's the only guy on my list that's not with us. I'm pretty lucky actually in that regard. But I interviewed.
Well, when you're doing a book that's about 50 years ago.
Well, that's it, right?
And you'd figure a lot of them would be gone.
Yeah, so Norm Ferguson, great guy who held the NHL record for most goals in a season by a rookie for like 1 year, I think 34 goals he had with the California Seals, but he went on to the San Diego Mariners. Kevin Morrison, who you mentioned, who played the Newfoundland Senior Hockey League, but was like an 80-point defenseman in the WHA and assisted on Gretzky's first goal. And Paul Andrea is there's only a handful of guys from Atlantic, Canada still with us that played actually in the original six. He played briefly with the New York Rangers in the original six, and he played with the Cleveland Crusaders and was really good friend still with Jerry Cheevers, who was the goaltender there in Cleveland.
Oh, cool.
So interviewed those
Did Dad
three,
show you that
those three
picture?
guys.
Scoring
Oh,
on
he
TV?
scored a goal against Cheevers. I know. It's a sweet, nice goal, too. It wasn't like a deflection or
Up
anything. It
and
was
you can
beautiful.
Dad's got a picture scoring on Cheevers, and he's got the full flow going.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Full
That's an
flow,
awesome shot.
no helmet. And Cheevers.
Who needs a helmet with a butt? With a
Cheevers, for those that don't know, is the famous goalie that put every time he got hit in the face, he would put a stitch on his
Probably
helmet.
the coolest mask.
Or, yeah, it's the
of all
of
coolest
all
face
time,
mask I've ever
possibly.
seen.
Yeah.
And so
I don't know. My Jason one's pretty good.
Most recognizable.
Yeah,
probably, anyway.
definitely most recognizable. So anyway, he's down to make the save, and you can just see. So I'm telling you, for like 15 years, this picture was down in the basement, and I'm going. But you can just see Dad shooting it, and Cheevers making the save.
And
where
there's
it
a spray of
but,
ice and
yeah,
everything,
there's the
too.
spray. He's stopping right in front of him.
Yeah, it's
and he
pretty
goes, like, we were just sitting there one time. He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, he stopped you, obviously." He goes, "No, look at the puck." And if you look right up in the top, there's like, you can see the puck in the top corner. Yeah. Just barely, and I'm like,
and you
what?
didn't notice it.
I didn't notice it for all these years. He goes, "That's one of my shorthanded goals. What the fuck do you think?" And I was like, "Holy shit!" On Jerry Cheevers, great picture and a great
that's
part of
wicked.
history.
What? I tell you, Brian Gibbons scored a goal on Jacques Plante.
Whoa!
Plante was with the Edmonton Oilers.
Wow.
And yeah, that's pretty cool too.
If he
I didn't
wasn't
see if there was
already
no
in the
photo of it,
Newfoundland
but
Hockey
yeah.
Hall of Fame, he should be in just for that.
Just
Yeah,
for that.
that's pretty
that.
cool, right? But he just sort of mentioned it offhand. You know, I asked him what was the highlight. He goes, "Oh, we had a couple 8-game winning streaks," and then he
Wow,
says, "Oh, I scored on
imagine
Jacques
winning. Remember that. I
Plante."
don't
But
remember
yeah,
any.
he just said it offhand. But yeah, the three guys from Cape Breton were amazing. There was 4, like I said, one had passed, but those 3 guys, had amazing stories. And circling back to the North American Hockey League, the minor league of the WHA, Paul Andrea is now with the Cape Cod Cotters of the North American Hockey League. Larry Kish is the head coach, who your dad knew.
Yes.
Later coached in the American Hockey League and coached the Hartford Whalers in the NHL. Anyways, the Cape Cod Cotters are affiliated with the New England Whalers. So when the Hansons or Carlsons, I always get confused now telling this story.
Yeah.
You know what I
It's
mean?
easy to
Hansons
forget,
/ Carlsons
Yeah.
were terrorizing that league. Cape Cod had a pretty tough guy of their own that you may have heard of. This is Paul Andrea telling me this story. Nick Fatillo.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Fresh out of Staten Island, can barely skate or
Ended up
whatever
with
at
the
that time.
Flames.
Ended up being a good skater, but certainly
Could
raw.
really throw the mitts.
Yeah, so they had no problem with the Hansons or Carlsons or whatever, with Nicky in the lineup. But Nicky gets called up to the New England Whalers at the time, and they end up playing Johnstown again, and it's just a shit show. And Paul's like, I'm done, I'm out, right? With Nicky out of the lineup, but so those guys were
That's
great.
my next T-shirt, the Cape Cod Cotters. That's the first time I ever heard that.
I need one of those.
And
yeah.
that just shot right up my list.
Yeah.
That
I
shot
gotta
up.
see the logo.
I'll work on it here, guys.
It's working its way to the top. By the way, and a side note, actually, no. What were you just going to say?
I was going to say that the shirt you have to do is your dad with the famous Saints logo. You're a saint or you ain't. That's the one I want to see.
You're a saint or you ain't.
You're a saint or you ain't.
I like that.
Yeah.
Let's just get the Fighting Saints logo, but get TR Senior's face on it.
There you go.
That's what I'm
You're a
thinking.
saint or you ain't.
Yeah. But I'm telling you, the Cape Cod Cotters, I hadn't heard of that. That's a great name. Off topic, but what's your favorite band name?
Ozark Mountain Daredevils.
It's in my top 5, baby.
I always say that as one of those bands that could also be the name of a sports team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fucking right. I've often, you know what? And we've never talked about that. By the way, I've got 3 in no particular order. Dan Hicks and the Hot Licks,
That is
Commander
good.
Cody and his Lost Planet Airmen, and so it wouldn't be 5. Third would be definitely the Ozark
Well,
Mountain
I'm trying to
Daredevils.
think.
That's my
I had a list of 5 that could also be sports teams: Ozark Mountain Daredevils, Bay City Rollers, which not a band I like,
No, but
but
it could
could be a
be.
sports
They
team.
had a couple jams, all right?
did.
Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels.
love
You
that
could-
band, by the way.
Yeah, and me and you geeked out over this in the room
we
a while
did.
ago because I actually knew when you put on Devil with a Blue Dress.
Devil
I was
with the
like,
Blue
"Look at Mitch
Dress,
Ryder
yeah.
and the Detroit Wheel."
and there's a couple others that
See,
that
that's the
escape me,
fucking
but-
thing. See,
yeah.
you're as big
And
into music.
But that's why me and your dad, like when I had this conversation with your dad, he knows me as Dave Salter, a guy who used to work at the Telegram, wrote stories about you in Tri-Cities and stuff. But I'm like, I'm also like a music guy. Like pretty hardcore, right?
Yeah.
And so when we had, our 3 or 4 phone conversations before actually our interview, he was like, this is going to be really fun. So, and that's kind of the way our night went. As much as I said that it was an 8 hours there hanging out, probably 4 of it was the interview and everything else. Probably the other 4 of it was just music.
I wonder is there a way to tie a book of hockey and music together? Could you? You know what? I've just let the cat out of the bag. If there is someone else who's going to do it and make money, and I'm giving them the idea as we speak.
I'll cut this out.
It's been done.
But anyway, no, it's interesting. Now, Dave, look, I guess, Jesus, it's been almost an hour. Ash can wait 10 minutes. We got Arron Asham on next. But listen, so you decided to do this book when you leave Newfoundland, because you're leaving to go back to Halifax
Tomorrow. Yeah.
So your process now is what? Because I know what it's like.
So
people think, you're putting out a book, comes out next month. No.
The worst
that
thing
ain't
about
the fucking
putting
process.
out a book is people are like, how's the book going? It's like, how's your report card? Your
I know.
report going? How's
Like,
your
I don't know,
homework
I got
going?
like 2 pages.
It's like,
you got to do research and everything.
I'm not even through the interview process yet, so I still got to
Yeah.
go. I wanted to get as many guys as I can in person because you build up so much more rapport that way.
Yeah.
So I still want to go to PEI and get Bobby McMillan and some of the
sure
guys
Senior talked about
that
it.
are over. Yeah, exactly. Teammate of your dad in Minnesota, and those guys get those interviews done. Then I'll track down the guys like Alton White who lives in Vancouver, and I'll do those ones over the phone. But anyone that's in Atlantic Canada, I wanted to go. And do
You're
myself.
going
So I'm
about
still in
it
the process of
in a
of
similar
doing those
way that
interviews.
Ken went about doing his hockey card stories.
Yeah.
I see it, and I don't know if Ken's talked about it. Those really took off.
Yeah. Oh, geez, they're great. Yeah.
and
And
I-
it was an idea that because I used to write for sports memorabilia magazines back in the day, and when he those books, I said that was my idea.
Well,
in my head anyway, right?
Yeah,
that
but
he
I
did.
think I think what you're going to get is a lot of crossover, not crossovers. You're going to get a lot of similar people buying the same book because anybody that's interested, like hockey cards, really, if you think about it, were popular at its peak a little bit after that era.
Yeah.
I know they're out there now, and
Yeah.
like now you can go buy like cards that are worth more. You can buy a card, Connor McDavid rare platinum right now for like $150, but let's just say when hockey cards were
it's
hockey
a
cards.
nostalgia thing.
Yeah. Right? So, you might even be able to delve into that. How about, did you come across any hockey card stories from the WHA? Because that's rare. The dad only got one hockey card from the WHA.
The way
it
they
doesn't really
chose
look
some
like a hockey card.
hockey players for those cards sets didn't really make a lot of sense when you look at some of the guys that were included and some of the guys that were left out. But
that a burn on Terry?
the WHA did have 5 or 6 sets though that they did, smaller sets than the NHL, of course, smaller league. But
Well, they went and redid it because if you look, I can find my dad's hockey card, but that wasn't out in the time. It came out retroactively. He must have had the picture on the wall of his Minnesota Fighting Six, but well, that wasn't out originally. That was the picture on a bigger card. The card was like almost like a 5x7 with all your stats on the back and everything. It was just bigger than not quite 5x7, but it was a little bit bigger, 4x6 maybe, than a regular hockey card. So they went with them, but they didn't last because, well, they're not hockey cards, so they don't fit in. They just
the
don't
sleeves. But, the thing about this WHA book, it is about Atlantic Canadians, but I'm getting inquiries from Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Birmingham, all over North America, on social media. That they don't care necessarily where these players. We do, but they just want a book on the WHA. You know what I mean? And people are, like I said, are dying for it because there's only really been 2 books that I'm aware of. It was Big Bucks and Blue Pucks. Pretty cool name. I still don't have a name for the book if I didn't already mention that. And the second one was the Rebel League, right? Both good.
And the Rebel League is the most recent one that came out when I was still not quite in high school, junior high. So that's dated
There was
now.
something on every page that fascinated me.
Same.
So
like
people,
wild.
from this region, I think, will want to know the stories about players from this region. People that don't live in this region or are not from here will still want to hear WHA stories. These guys are still legends, in many cases, like Machine Gun Gordy Gallant, right? People in Minnesota and in the cities he played in, they don't necessarily carry from Shediac, New Brunswick.
But truly, who better to tell stories than Maritimers?
Yeah.
Well,
honestly. Kevin Morrison, I can't get into all the juicy stuff, but Kevin Morrison was buying beer for Wayne Gretzky because Wayne Gretzky was 17 in Indianapolis. Actually, Wayne Gretzky was, getting it from his garage. But anyways,
Gordy Glampi, by the way, former Newfoundland senior hockey player.
Another Newfoundland senior hockey leader. You're right, Gordy Gallant, and I'm looking forward to speaking to Frank Seldom Beaten. He's got a great story where he was wanted. He'd beaten up a gas attendant. He was driving his Corvette, and the gas attendant had spilled some gasoline along the side of his car or his pants or something. Frank beat the shit out of him, and the police were looking for him. I think it was in Birmingham, Alabama, and he was with the Bulls, or maybe he was with either the Bulls or the Stingers, because he played with both teams. So it was either in Cincinnati or Birmingham. I think it was Cincinnati. And anyway, whatever team he wasn't on, hid him in the closet there, the stick closet or whatever.
He wasn't on?
Yeah, exactly. So I think he snuck into the other team's dressing room, and while the cops were looking for him, right? And he eventually came out. That's a true story. So that and that was, I think it might have been referenced in the Rebel League, but I want to talk to the man himself.
Yeah,
about
so,
it. Right?
How could you not want that story firsthand, right?
For someone who worked at a gas station all through high school, I've done that, but I've never had the shit kicked out of me.
By Frank Beaton.
There you go. Yeah.
Wow. So look.
So it's about a year from now. I think the book's going to come out. I didn't mean to jump ahead of you there, Terry, just in case people are wondering. It's a long process of getting these interviews done. And
no, you're not at all. I was just looking to see how much time we had left, and it's
because clearly I could probably go for another hour and a half. Not that you'd be interested.
The very second pre-orders are available. Please tweet me.
Yeah, let us know.
No, people have told me, they said they can't wait to read this book, and I'm like, I can't wait to read it either. Well, yeah,
But I think-
I'm
I think
writing
you've
it,
got
because it's not me,
Yeah.
it's the stories, right?
I think you've got a niche because when Ken Reed did his Hockey Card Stories book, quickly there was Hockey Card Stories 2. One Night Only came after that. He's got, and I think
I'm still looking
Where
for a
you're-
copy of that.
I got one.
Do you?
I can
Okay.
see it's great. I'll, try
My
to buy
sister
one if you
wants,
can't
my
support
sister
Ken, I
wants
guess.
your book too,
I
Terry.
always. There you go. I might have some soon at home. I told you how that works. You got to buy your own book.
Yeah.
But anyway, I will do it for your sister. I just buy like 50 at a time when I'm going out. That's the thing, dude. That's how book companies work, Dave.
Yeah.
For me
I'll
to
find
buy my
out.
own book and get a deal on it, so I can like resell it for slightly more than I'd make anyway, then I had to buy at least 50. So and
It's the
I
prestige, though,
wrote the
Terry.
fucking
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, I know. Hey, I'm not complaining.
Author.
I got a book out there, but I do think because yes, the Atlantic Canadian thing. I think it's a great angle, but I think just WHA fans are going to like this. I think if this works, you could do like. A West version,
I
maybe
think
you could
it's
just
a
do a
portable,
bigger
modular
thing. Yeah,
thing.
you
Yeah,
really
yeah.
could.
I just needed to get that first book, and I still haven't yet, under my belt, and then people go, okay, this guy can actually do it, and
Yeah.
maybe I can do something
Yes.
on a larger scale, right? We'll see.
Or- WHA region by region.
and it's one of those, and it's one of those things too that like you might even find other commonalities through the stories. You're talking to the guys, and it's like, okay, well, here's another book about guys who had to hide in the locker rooms while the cops look for them. Like you might be able to find enough of those stories that that's his own fucking book.
Yeah.
You know,
No,
so-
just,
Or else I'll just steal it all. Terry Ryan, Tales of a First Round Nothing 3 WHAers from Atlantic, Canada.
But
What? What the fuck?
it's amazing though that the tough guys, Gordy
Yeah.
Gallant, Kevin Morrison, Frank Beaton, just typical Maritimers, Atlantic Canadians.
Gordy,
toughest
it's-
guys.
Well,
What's
I mean,
funny
didn't
is-
you technically write a book about the all the Atlantic Canadians that played in the WHL, just being your book?
Yeah.
All the
I
guys
did.
from Mount Pearl who've ever played in the
I
WHL have been in his book.
technically wrote a book about every Newfoundlander that ever played in the WHL.
What did you write about Darryl Williams, Victoria Cougars?
Played one goddamn game. You're right. So, you know what?
Oh, there we go.
No, I like.
No, it's
Darryl
great.
Williams played one game in Victoria before moving on to Belleville and having a great OHL career
And now
a great
is he with the
played
Growlers.
with the Growlers. Yeah,
Okay.
I played 2 games in the NHL for Los
Great
Angeles
guy.
too. But
Great
I
guy.
can't believe because we've never talked about that. I'm sure you knew.
I wrote the story. His first game in the NHL's got my little byline.
How
on it
did
for
you
the
know that he
Telegram.
played one game for Victoria and I was the only other guy?
That's
I
his
didn't have a
job.
girlfriend in high school, Terry, okay? I went to an all-guys Catholic school,
I can't
Gonzaga.
believe
You
it.
probably
Usually
heard
I
of
can
it. So
get
I
that
read
out
a
of the
lot
way.
of statistics
Like
and
people
stuff.
will often go like.
That's
They'll
the
go,
sad
who went
truth.
I'll go, well, I went the highest from Newfoundland in the draft. They'll go, Slaney. And they just go, Drukin, Cleary. And they go down the list, Luke Adam, and they start thinking, and they're like, no, everybody. So, but I don't expect that when I say I'm the only Newfoundlander to play out west. Usually people
That's kind of
go
a dick
like,
move
yeah,
on my
yeah.
part, though.
No, I like it. It's right. No, fuck me. That's perfect. I just say it's one game. Like, no one will ever, I won't explain that. But yourself and a few more have called me on it. And trust me, I'm not upset. I think that's
Grudging
great.
respect.
You're a fuck, and I think Ken Reed was the other guy.
Yeah.
But you're a
But
hockey.
it's so funny. Your dad, I was talking to your dad the other night, and I was talking how Bobby Orr almost signed with the Minnesota Fighting Saints. And I swear to God, today, or was it yesterday, was the day, the day
Yeah.
after I spoke, there was a thing came up on Facebook. Bobby Orr, Alan Eagleson, and the owner of the Minnesota Fighting Saints we're actually talking. There was a photo, and they were talking, negotiations. Your dad goes, "Did that really?" he hadn't heard of it, and it was kind of like he's like, wow, like I had never heard that before and couldn't believe it, and then I saw
Makes
that
sense
picture
now
the
that you
next
say
day.
it. Was that after Sanderson went? Sorry to cut you off.
I think yeah, oh yeah, 75 something
Was
like
that after he attended North Stars camp? Because there's a famed
Oh,
photo.
yeah, that's right.
There's a famed photo
of him with
of
the North-
Bobby
I
Orr
think it
in
was like
head to toe North Stars gear. That always
I
fucks
think
people
that-
up.
I think he was retired at that point, but it was like a North Stars alumni thing. But there's also a cool photo of Bobby Orr as a goaltender in a Buffalo Sabres uniform.
Never saw it.
And that's insane.
Never
But
saw that
you
one.
can find that on the.
I believe he was actually at like a camp tryout under like rumor. This is the story I read of the photo.
You know
the
what? I
Minnesota
think the
one.
North Stars one. I think he was. It was as a favor to Harry Howell, who was coaching the North Stars at the time. Something like that.
I'd have to
Anyways,
read up.
Yeah. Anyways,
The
I'm reading
misinformation
about
I got was.
It's simply. He was doing an alumni thing in the 80s.
Okay.
Yeah,
So it's like when Wendell Clark and friends come here and Ray Bork puts on a Leafs jersey.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
No more than that. He wasn't affiliated or anything. I think he was doing a favor
Yeah.
for a buddy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. There you go.
Not to rain on the parade. If he had been with Minnesota at some point and I didn't know about it, I would have been like absolutely blown
But yeah,
away.
I guess
I
they were
can't believe
talking.
I've never seen that photo.
Yeah.
I can't believe the other day is the first time I ever saw Johnny Cash in Central Newfoundland photo.
You
Oh,
never
really?
seen
You
it?
never saw those?
Yeah,
Yeah,
with the
hunting
Buckins,
trip or
yeah.
something. Yeah.
No, I just saw it like on a meme and I thought it was a joke. There's
No.
woods everywhere and guns. I just figured he was in Mississippi somewhere. I don't know.
No, it was I went hunting in Buckins.
Holy shit! Yeah, I could not believe it. What was he doing up there? Ted
Hunting.
Williams came here to
It's
fish,
some of the best hunting.
Hey.
He was moose hunting. So
How'd
it was
he
like
get
some of the
his
best
moose?
moose
Yes, if
hunting.
you're gonna go
Same
moose
reason
hunting.
Yeah,
George
that's right.
Bush is in
Same
Goose
deal.
Bay or whatever.
It was the same
West.
deal. A couple when I was a kid. When I was a kid, there was a big talk that at some point in the early '90s, DeVito and Schwarzenegger came through Buckins hunting too.
Well, but did they or didn't they? Just throw out shit that you might not have happened. I heard Mickey
it's-
Mouse came to life and
it's-
fucking fished in Buckins
It's been
as well.
it's
but
been hearsay that I've heard since I was I've
pictures-
just like until we've talked about it this exact moment. I've never had a reason to fact check the fucking story, Terry.
Well,
I
but
just
I'm saying,
assumed when
Johnny
I was
Cash
7 it was
pictures there in
I don't
Buckins.
see Danny
Well,
DeVito
I
hunting.
can tell you
I don't
this
know.
every now
Like
and
I
then.
can tell you, Ted Williams came here and
No.
fished because he came down and he physically taught me baseball lessons. You're going, I heard Danny DeVito came through. I don't fucking know why. Because someone
I've
saw a
never
guy
asked him.
5 foot walking through Buckins.
Yeah.
Twins, wasn't it the movie?
Yeah, it was the one that
Twins
they did
was the
together. But yeah,
movie.
like I've heard many stories over the years that Schwarzenegger has like had his spot in Humber Valley for a
And
bit
I
and all
heard
that kind of
Kawhi
stuff.
was going to sign with the Lakers.
Ooh.
You can hear a lot of things.
Rambo likes to go fishing up in Labrador, though. I do know that. That's it, Rambo. Yeah, he likes to go up there.
You mean Stallone?
Stallone, yeah. Well, I don't want people like looking.
But you've
for
seen it. I just like to, because I always hear it thrown out.
him. Yeah.
And I've heard George Bush. I think at this point I believe that, but I've never actually heard anybody that saw it. But that rumor's been going around forever. But I showed you the picture, right, of Ted Williams in the 80s.
Yes, yeah, Bill
When he
Rawl
used-
Park. I remember
So he
he
would
opened
come
that-
in
the
here,
ballpark, yeah.
So all I'm saying is that I would probably tell you that story first because it actually happened, and I have a picture of it. And I would probably tell you the Johnny Cash story second because there's a picture of him in Buckins with a gun, and I assume he's
I've
not a
seen the picture.
murderer. He
And
was going to
a
hunt.
giant fucking walkie-talkie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the biggest fucking walkie-talkie you've ever seen in your life.
As far as Schwarzenegger and DeVito, I mean, who knows?
Again, and this
Maybe
is something
one of
that
Mike's buddies told
when
him
I
in
was
high
Muhammad
school.
Ali come through Gander
down by the-
Airport.
Yeah,
I think Ali
that-
did was
And
in
there's a whole
Gander.
thing about Joey with Joey Smallwood with like the
Fidel?
no, not Fidel. With the Russian dude. And like he heard his plane was stopping in Gander, and he fucking drove out to meet it. and
Ivan
shit.
Drago?
Gorbachev?
No, fuck no.
Fucking no.
Well, point being, what do you
I
mean?
am.
We're a location on Earth. You can only, of course,
Yeah.
someone was in the airport.
Oh, yeah. No, but like
Right? If you told me, like, right now that, like,
No, but,
Justin
like-
Bieber was downtown having fish and chips, whoa! Okay, like, that's something. But if you tell me, like, someone went through Gander, of course.
No, but it's not
I
going
would
through Gander.
assume
The story
fucking
is
King of England went
the
through it at
story is, and I can't remember which Soviet leader in the '60s it was, but his plane came down in Gander, and Joey went out. Basically,
maybe.
yeah, I think it was Khrushchev. Hauled him off the plane and like took him up through the fucking woods, like showing him around.
Took him up to the woods.
Hook him up to the. Jesus.
That's the fucking story, man.
That's
It's-
a cool.
all of a
That's a
sudden we've
cool
got Friday the
episode.
13th.
you
Just
know,
celebrity
that's the one.
sightings
That's the
kind of
one we
thing.
gotta do. Is I'll fact check all that. That's my fucking book.
Justin
Yeah.
Bieber
You got
might
a book.
have-
He's got a book.
I just
That'll be
wanted
mine.
fact
Is
check.
find out whether or not all these are
Justin
fucking.
Bieber was here though for.
I was
remember
met
when
him.
Junos, yeah,
the
yeah.
Junos, yeah.
I got
think
met him.
Drake was here too.
That's the
That
night
sounds insane.
I met Jim Cuddy. So Cuddy was here. I was at that Juno party after Dave.
Of course you were.
I
No, I know
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
You're
we,
one of those
the
guys that
Juno
finds
Cup
those
was
parties.
happening, and they can all play hockey.
yeah,
So
yeah.
like,
He's not
Jim
bad,
says he
apparently.
asked me, but he didn't. What happened was it got foggy, and Paul Coffey and like Messier, there was a couple more that couldn't get in. So he asked me and Druken and a couple more locals to play. So we ended up playing the game. But Jim Cuddy.
So are you wearing like Paul Coffey's jersey, and all the kids are like,
No,
yeah, look, it's Paul
no.
Coffey.
They came up with a jersey. Jim still denies this. He said he wanted me in the game. I really think he's being nice because it just doesn't make sense.
Okay,
right?
I'll tell you what. I'll also add that to the list of shit I got to fact check.
Yes. Well, but I played in the game, and I got a picture of this. So afterwards, Jim goes like, I thought. Just like hockey, you go on a road trip and you pick a room or whatever, and everybody kind of hangs out. It happens a lot. So they had adjoining rooms. So I got a bunch of beer from Pop's Howl down at Kane's Convenience, and I filled up the beer and I filled up the bathtubs with ice, and I put tunes on.
Veteran move,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, put tunes on in both places. So the boys get back, and it was like it was like Ron McLean was even there. It wasn't just musicians, but the Tragically Hip. I remember
This was
were
the
there.
Juno Cup, right?
It was the Juno Cup,
Yeah.
yeah. And like what's classified. So it was everybody played in the game. Now Bieber was only 16 or 17, but he was up for a few Junos. So he came afterwards. So I'm up there, and Jim's like, we're all singing Jim. So I get up on the bed and I'm singing Jim Cuddy songs and everything. Well, we're all singing them. But then, we got in the heat of the moment. So Jim's like laughing. He's like, fuck, take it off. So I took off my shirt off, and then everybody's like chanting. So I took off my pants. I'm down to my Speedo banana fucking hammock underwear. And I took my clothes and I just kind of wrapped them up in a ball and I threw them down the exit. So like I had to kind of attend the rest of the party with just the banana hammock on, which ended up being a total circus.
And isn't there a photo of that in your book?
There is a photo of that in my book.
That is a sight I have seen.
And this is where it gets fucked, because then I try, I get out and start talking about like job hunts and stuff, and I'm like, oh, Jesus. But it was fun. It was a fun time, and I don't really fucking regret it. It was awesome, and all the big ones were there. To be honest with you, afterwards we all went out. Troy Crowder's a great fucking guy, and he was there doing some work. He knows Jim and Brad Delgarno and those guys were. So we ended up after all the chaos. I took them all downtown in my regular fucking attire.
Found some clothes.
got
Yeah,
changed.
and you know what? A few places. At the time, Mexicali Roses was there. I remember they used
I
to like
almost got
stay
arrested because of that place.
they used to stay open, and I got them. So boys wanted fish and chips, so I actually whoever it was we got it from. The Big R wasn't open, but Buddy was in the kitchen. It was closing, so he's like, okay, how about this? I'll make you some fish and chips, and I'll send it down to Mexicali's. So again, this is like 2:30 in the morning, so I had to make sure that Mexicali's would be open. Then I head down there, so I had fish and chips served at Mexicali Roses, which wasn't supposed to be open in the first place. To Troy Crowder and a bunch of musicians, and lo and behold, the end of my story, Justin Bieber was there. All I did, though, was shake his hand. He was just a kid at the time.
I tell you, they stopped that tradition in Mexicali Roses in 2013, 2014, because I went in at like 3:30 in the morning, and boy, they did not want me in there.
Yeah, it used to be on wheels.
Yeah.
till like
Oh,
7.
yeah. That used to be the after-hour spot, but I
Yeah.
guess they shut it down. And I remember one. It was a Canada Day actually, and
It's always a Canada
Yeah,
Day.
it's always a Canada Day with me. It was Canada Day, and I was like, well, geez, if I want a beer anywhere at 3:30, where am I going to go? Mexicali Roses, and I hopped the patio in through the patio door and walking around the place is a goddamn ghost town.
Yeah. For a while, I just knew to go there. I was a good host. To be honest, it's a good thing they were open because we ended up talking all night, and Jim, I believe, came down. Anyway, it solidified our relationship, and to this day, obviously, him coming on the show, I really appreciate it. But now we only got a couple of minutes left. So, Dave, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you want to talk about with what you're doing now with the book, with your relationship with Newfoundland? I mean, do you still talk to your buddies on the ice caps? I saw you throw out one of them signed. I'm losing.
Would have been Joel Hanley with Dallas.
Ben Sherratt, and he tweeted out. You're very supportive still of the old.
Yeah, I mean, you know what, Terry. I was sort of around hockey through the 80s and 90s, and I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but, there were some dicks back in that era, But when I started working with the Ice Caps, just about everyone was good. You'd have 20 guys on a team, and like 18 of them would be good.
You're not the first person to
good
say
guys.
that. Yeah.
And my theory is, and I've heard people say this, with all the money that they invest in players now, character people and good people are so important to NHL organizations.
But I'm extending it now to the organization.
Yeah.
Outside of, didn't you find that like with the players, there always seemed to be a good vibe, but it wasn't only that. It was everybody from yourself. I don't want to keep going on Robbie Maloney and Trevor Murphy and all the
great guys,
and Stanford and everything. Like, there's just, to me, you guys really, really did seem like an extended family, and it's hard to come by. You don't always come by that in pro hockey, and a lot of the times, the players can be as nice as they want to be, but you're all battling for something, and you might have to beat a guy out, and it's an awkward.
Yeah.
But those guys really gelled.
Yeah, no, I mean, I had probably more than many of our staff, a lot of interaction with the players, for interviews and media, relations and stuff that I did. So I was a guy who was, one of the only guys that was, I'll put it this way, allowed in the dressing room, right? Not that that was a big thrill for me or anything, but,
I know.
So I had a lot of interactions, even for like charitable stuff if I had to go in and get a player and stuff. So, but that astounded me, just the amount of good quality people. And, one of the, and again, the organization with Glenn Stanford, Glenn's, the best boss ever had, Glenn and Danny Williams, just a first class person and mentor to me. But I remember when we got knocked out of the playoffs in Syracuse, when the franchise was over. I mean, you lose a game in overtime, a heartbreaker, and I thought we could have beat Syracuse that year. Not only is your season over, your job is done. The franchise is gone, and myself and Brian Rogers were on the road. And I think Trevor Murphy was there too. I don't think Trevor came out that night. I'm not, Trevor's, married, has 2 kids. I have 2 kids, but I'm no longer married. So I was more apt to go out, that time. So the guys all took me and Raj out. And I guess you'd know me better than me, Terry, all the fine money that you get throughout the year for late, whatever your team rules are, they pull it all together for this party. So they took me and Brian out, and, we had the bottle service. I'd never had that before, right? At a bar in Toronto, I should say. So we bus back from Syracuse to Toronto, and then Toronto to St. John. So that night we went out in Toronto, and the guys just, rolled out the red carpet for me and Raj, and it was a great experience. And they made you feel like you said you were part of the team. And the bus ride home from Syracuse to Toronto, or not home, but to Toronto was fun and interesting, and I still keep in touch with some of the guys, but just first class guys, and it was a great experience. And the Montreal, the Jets were great. We had that run in 2014. We went to the Calder Cup Finals in Texas, and for me personally, I grew up a fan of the Montreal Canadiens. So getting the 2 years to work with the Canadiens was amazing. Just great people, treated me first class.
You were so happy during that. Not that you're not. You're one of the happiest. And logical people. I know a lot of happy people that are idiots. You're one of the happiest, unstoned, logical, smart people I know.
Cool, that's a pretty good category.
I just noticed that time, that was a great job for you, David.
Yeah.
And it was a great experience. And even though all things must pass, said George Harrison, but
John Scott, another guy.
I still kind of John Scott. I still kind of look at those years and. You often say, I learned anything in folklore, your identity's always changing, and you're never really tied down to one thing. But I found you'd matured a lot in good ways from the times that we'd done those things from in 2005-06 with the Fog Devils.
Yeah.
To that time, you'd matured not only as a person but really as a fan and a player. Director of communications is not a fucking easy job, guys. It's not.
Especially with the Canadians, we had a lot of transactions. I mean, especially with the time difference, they'd send I'd get they'd send me something at 10:30, a transaction, and that'd be 12 o'clock in the morning, our time. We're sending a guy down. We need to get this out. And the Montreal media was so voracious. The Winnipeg media covered us a little bit. The Montreal media covered the Ice Caps like they were a Montreal team. So I mean, I'd be working. I'd be getting calls on. We're sending Eddie Pasquale down to Brampton on Boxing Day. So I'd be getting these texts and calls on Christmas Day, right? So I always say, and this, Terry, I mean, hockey teams, they own your ass from September till June, right? And that's part of the deal. But I loved it. It was a great experience, and met so many cool people.
It's one thing to do it for the Cape Cod Cotters. It's another thing to do it for the farm team of the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah. And the John Scott experience was crazy with the All-Star game. I was the lead communications guy with that. I'll never forget, I got a call, or I shouldn't say, I found out he was playing in the game through social media, and I contacted the Canadiens. I was like, what do we do? This is uncharted territory. Is he my guy? And he's like, I remember the communications guy, Dominic Sayon, who I dealt with, was first class, said, David, he's your guy? Enjoy. And that was it. So then
fucking
you know,
rules,
Dave,
and then the
man.
phone calls are coming in from ESPN and everywhere else. And then, of course, he becomes MVP of the All-Star game. Then you're getting Mitch Albom people reaching out and stuff and contacting me. They took me out to dinner and stuff for this movie. And
that's a heavy hitter.
So it was just an amazing experience.
Well, look, good luck with everything. I want to keep talking. The only reason is that we have another guest coming. I'm actually late. It's we don't have a guest coming at this moment. We have a guest about to appear on the show. His name is Arron Asham, and
Also seldom beat.
Also seldom beaten.
Well done.
Really, honestly, thanks a lot. Good luck with everything. It's so interesting, your story and your stories, and we'd love to hear from you again. You know what? Maybe when you're done the interview process.
Yeah.
Like Aaron's going to be our first. We're only 25 in. He's our first repeat guest, and we've said we've had a lot, and I think you'd be one of them. You've got a lot to say, and still, this will be before. We'll do it before and after.
Awesome.
And let's have you back when the book is coming to fruition, and we'll talk again. Dave, you're my
Anytime.
good buddy. I'm really pumped to see you, and I'm glad you dropped into the house. Glad you dropped into the studio. Great to see you again. Good luck.
Absolutely. My thrill. And guys, great to meet you as well. Oh, Twitter. What is my Twitter? It's at Dave Salter _ I think. But you can just search Dave Salter, David Salter. I changed. It used to be Salty Talker, but I changed it. But anyways, yeah.
If you want to follow along with the book process.
Yeah, absolutely. Follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, thanks, Dave.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Here's a few things to know when opening an ice-cold Miller Lite. They brew their beer to 90 calories and 3 grams of carbs per 355 milliliter serving. And they also brew for great taste. It's this great Pilsner taste that's made Miller Lite a favorite for our beer drinkers everywhere. Miller Lite, 90 calories, 3 grams of carbs. It's Miller time. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it gives me great pleasure to introduce my good friend, the 1997 Portage La Prairie Spelling Bee runner-up, Arron Asham. No, actually, that's not true. I've already introduced. If you don't know who Asham is, please tune out of this program right now. And you know, there's not much good about you. If you know anything about the NHL sports or our show, you'll know that Arron Asham is a legend in all three. How you doing, buddy?
Good, bud. How are you?
I'm not bad. So I'll tell you what, we weren't sure who to have on this week, so we just had a good buddy that Dave Salt, who wrote a WHA book. But I know that each year around this time, your golf tournament comes up. Now, we did talk about it, but we had you on about 4 months ago. So let's refresh people's memory there, Ash, because it's one of my favorite causes in all of charity sports, and that covers a large gamut. That covers a large area. We do a lot of these things, but Arron's actually raises money for people that need it. Explain, my friend.
It is called the Arron's Chance to Play. It's a program we set up about 15 years ago, just to to provide equipment, money, registration. Hockey's getting so damn expensive, and it's tough. I come from a single income family, 4 boys. And a sister, and it was tough. It was tough for my dad, and I had a lot of people that stepped up and seen potential in me and helped me out through those years, and that's why I came up with it. It's everyone needs help every now and then, and I needed a lot growing up, and people stepped up for me, so I was in a position where I wanted to give back to my community and my surrounding communities, and we helped 30, 40 kids a year play hockey, so which is great.
No, that's amazing, and it's one of the things that most impresses me about you. When I first met you, Ash, nothing against you at all. I knew you were rough around the edges. I didn't think you were a dick, but I certainly didn't think that. I did not think that in 20 years from now, from that point, that you will have raised so much money, and I think it's $1 million or more now for this association. Or for this organization. I've been involved in a couple of these things. Or keep going.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Yeah, I actually have a good story about you. I don't know if it was the first time you came to the golf tournament.
Well, you can tell.
We had a pretty uptight president, who kind of ran things. Her name was Jodie Foster. And her first time meeting Noop was on one of the holes. and he was down to his tighty whities.
Common theme.
That's
Common
the second
theme here.
story
I
involving
feel-
Terry's underwear.
A few
in public.
beers get in me, man. And it's just-
Cowboy boots.
Yeah.
And he was trying to have a serious conversation with her, and she wasn't having it at all, and it was hilarious.
And I
It was
jumped in.
typical
Then
Noof, and,
I had a few more beers with Mike Richards,
Yeah.
and I jumped in the water hazard
And
on
then
hole
he-
10
oh,
and swam
and
across.
This water hazard is disgusting.
Yeah.
I don't know how you didn't catch something.
It's
it was
very
just
still
full of
water.
goose shit, and just
So attire is
Brutal.
casual, is it,
Magnet.
Aaron?
And guys came out, dried my shit there. I didn't go back to the hotel, and then I wore it all out. We went to like a fundraiser afterwards and got on stage and sang a few songs. I don't remember what those even were, but it's that kind of thing. Now, first of all, I wasn't the only fucking
I
lunatic.
know the song.
What was it?
It was like 2:30 in the morning, triple drinking all day. Like when my tournaments, it's a good time. Like when we drink,
Yeah, yeah.
like we drink, and it's from 10 o'clock in the morning till sometimes it goes to freaking 6, 7 in the morning. So it's a bender, and so we're at the bar. It's last call, and the band's up there playing their last song, and Noof somehow got his way up there. And me and my boys were sitting down watching, and they're like, "Oh no, this is going to be a disaster." They are all panicking. I was panicking. And then next thing you know, Johnny B. Good started up, and he sang it to a T. Everyone was floored. He could barely talk. He could barely stand, but he got up there and he sang it to a T. It was unreal.
I
Floored
actually,
everyone.
when you started telling that story, I wrote down on a piece of paper Johnny Be Good or Bad Leroy Brown.
It's so funny. I watched him write it, and I was like, oh, yeah, 100%. One of those two.
Well, the thing is, when you're go ahead.
The encore might have been Bad Leroy Brown, but
The encore
It
is
was-
always Bad Leroy Brown.
Well, or the apartment song.
It was-
that's true too.
Rave
yeah.
on. The only reason
was
is because when I
awesome.
get shit faced, I've been in a position before, like someone will call me up in a bar, like Billy Hickey will go, "Let's do a Beatles song," and like I know all the words to "We
Yeah.
Can Work It Out," but it's hard to really hit that note.
Yeah.
If you're drunk, you look like an idiot.
Yeah, yeah,
When
yeah.
"We Can Work It Out" starts, Paul McCartney starts that song higher than I can finish it.
Oh, yeah.
So, but there's a few songs after you get experience getting up there that like you really don't have to. Like with Bad Leroy Brown and with Johnny Be Good, if you know the words and you know the rhythm and you can put on a show, you don't really have to do too much range.
Yeah.
I've
So it
got
doesn't
one for
surprise
your
me.
repertoire. I've got one you got to add here.
Which one?
You don't mess around with Jim.
That's
Oh,
a
yeah,
better
you don't
song.
Talk on Superman's cape.
Yeah, you
don't
got to
spit
add.
into the
Yeah,
wind.
that's a showman.
like
that
like
one.
Jim Croce had a corner book like set on songs about really like tough guys in pool halls, and like he's the only guy who really has two of those songs.
I know.
And
But the problem is, guys, the reason that I play the ones that are more popular and generic is because the band doesn't know how to play it.
oh yeah, no.
I'm not up there playing the song. So if I go up and say like any deep cut, they're gonna go, "What the fuck are you talking about?" But they're even the most basic person you will see play at coaches in fucking Bay Roberts will have a drum machine there and a guitar.
Yeah, and
right?
be able to
Yeah.
do Bad Leroy Brown.
And be able to do that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the reason. But anyway, I wouldn't have remembered it that night. No joke, Ash. That day could be the only day that I remember, like getting drunk 3 times. Like I got drunk in the morning, then I had a nap, then a drunk again.
You were also jumping around outside Boston Pizza, squaring off with 2 guys.
Well,
I had to come out there and
you kind of
and
they
break
were
that one up.
insulting you at Aaron's own golf tournament. Because this is true. Aaron's up there talking, so he has the reception at Boston Pizza.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there. God, Brett Breckeroos, I think was his name. He was playing in Edmonton at the time. So he was a kid playing Major Junior from that area. So we were talking. There's this one dude in there. There was like one table that were left over that weren't part of the thing, and they couldn't really kick him out yet.
Yeah.
But it was our table. So this guy kept raising his fucking voice. He goes, "Who's this? Who's this guy?" I'm like, "Dude, that's Arron Asham, and he's talking to a bunch of people he just raised money for. Like, and a bunch of kids. This is serious. So, like, either get the fuck out
Yeah.
or keep it down." So then Aaron takes a break on the mic. He says, "Hey, can you keep it down there?" So then I know, like, I'm like, now it's getting weird. Now
Yeah.
I'm a guest celebrity at his tournament, and he's running this tournament, and now we're in these guys' faces. I'm like, sure enough, man. So I just went outside. I went out to talk to the guy I swear to you now.
He's making air quotes for anyone who's talked to the guy.
I didn't. What my intention was not. I said, just come out here, dude. And I went out. And I'm like, you got to relax. I said, we're in there. Like, you understand the weight of what's happening. But after that, Ash came out and he started to get lippy. Ash nearly got in a fist fight at his own golf tournament. It was the most bizarre situation.
Almost.
And you would have had right to do it, and it would have been one of the best stories ever.
Oh yeah.
But but anybody that knows him, like, the funny thing is, I was looking around going, like, does anybody find this weird? And no one that knew Ash did. I didn't. I just figured a bunch of a restaurant full of people at Boston Pizza would find it was weird, but they're like, no, that's just Arron.
This is par for the course at the golf.
Portage.
Yeah, that's just Portage.
But Noof, you do have a chance to get on stage on Thursday night. We got Doc Walker. I'm not sure if you guys heard of them. They're a country band. They're out of around my park. I got a buddy that's playing in them, so they're going to be there at the dinner. So
you said Doc Walker?
You have a chance to go up there and sing with them.
Beautiful.
Doc Walker, yeah.
Oh yeah. I've heard of them.
That's interesting, Ash. That's something that's changed.
Yeah.
I wasn't expected. Who else is coming now? I think you told me Ron McLean is coming, but we'd had a few beers.
We have Ronnie Mack's coming, Ron McLean's coming. We have Jamie Leach. He won 2 cups with Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Blair Atcham. Ryan Pulak plays with the Islanders. Nick Henry, he just signed with Colorado. He's the hometown kid. He's going to show up. I'm still waiting on Trevor Kidd. And,
wow.
you're coming. So we got a really good crew.
It's a good group, and the
be a
whole
lot
community
of
comes out
fun,
for this.
yeah.
And you know what? I'm sure everybody from that area knows about it, but we do have actually a little bit of a listening base in Winnipeg. So a lot of people hearing this, and they always ask me when I'm coming out, and I don't have the time to text everybody. I'll tweet it, but I really think anybody in the area should come down and take this in because it's a blast. It's not just the golf, man. It's the players.
Yeah.
It's the people that he gets in. Like Ron McLean. You sit down and you get a chance to relax and have a few beers and chat with Ron, and it's an absolute blast.
Ron's awesome.
He's like the smartest person I've ever met.
Guy. Yeah.
Like when you Ron can drink till like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And get up at 9, and everything is totally normal.
I've heard that, and
It
I don't know
sounds
if you
like
told
you
me or
guys are
just
describing if I won the set for life. It's like, you get to come out and enjoy the sun, play a bit of golf. I'm terrible at golf. Play a bit of golf and chat and have a few beers at Ron McLean. It's like if I won the set for life, that'd be like number one.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. And I truly think that he still gets so much.
That's pretty special that Ron's showing up.
Well, it's really special, but the reason, Arron has been retired now for 3 years from the NHL, but I truly believe because it's this tournament. Like I've done some in Toronto. In Toronto, there's one every weekend, right? And some, I'm not going to put one cause any lesser than the next.
No, yeah.
But like sometimes you're raising money for, maybe a certain organization that will probably see the derivatives of this in 8 months from now, and maybe don't need them. But Aaron's the people who benefit from this literally next month will enroll in hockey for 2019, 2020 that wouldn't have been able to. Yeah. So the results are immediate. And Ron has always been on board for that. And the other thing is that, you see, Ron is from Red Deer, and that's where Arron and I played junior.
Yeah.
So Ron would support us when we were on the Rebels, and I don't think anybody else really realized that was going on. Like he'd gotten a job with Hockey Night in Canada, but as soon, like my first day with Red Deer, Ron talked about it I got traded there from Tri-City, talked about it on Hockey Night in Canada. Whenever Arron and I would play in the minors, and we'd often play games in Montreal or we'd be there, he'd come down. So, and it's not just because he likes shooting the shit about music or anything.
Yeah.
He just he had, Arron and I even then were involved in, I'm from Newfoundland, he's from Manitoba, but we were always involved in these, I don't want to say humanitarians, but we would always come across them doing these sorts of things in the summer, and now Arron has his own.
Yeah.
So that's
that's great.
So Arron, since the end of the hockey season, by the way, did you see it come in St. Louis?
No, I didn't. I honestly thought, I know the Jets play like shit down the home stretch, but I really thought they were going to bring it together and win that series. But because I thought they had, like, this was their year. Like now, like Chariot's gone, Ben's gone. Like there's a lot of guys that are gone. Their D is in shambles right now, and I think they missed out last year, and it's going to be.
Is that who you had? Did you when the playoffs started in your brackets, or if you had it? But did you have Winnipeg winning it?
Yeah, I had Winnipeg in 7.
Ooh.
Interesting. Over who?
In the final.
Yeah.
Did
you see Boston?
I had Winnipeg, and
Oh.
I had Winnipeg and Niles. I just had a sick feeling in my stomach that Tampa was going to lose that first round.
Wow.
So you did have that
As soon
feeling.
as
You just picked the wrong underdog.
The season was just too perfect for them.
Yeah.
Perfect, and it's a different playoffs, a different beast.
You know what's
It's a man's game, and I just after they were up 3-0 and they came back and lost that game right there, I knew they were done. I didn't think they're going to get swept, but right there, I knew they were done.
That brings you into.
I should have fucking bet it too.
You should have, Ash. But you and I have been on teams like, you know what I mean? When I know why you picked Winnipeg. I think in one pool I had them too. I had them at least in the final because I just thought they hadn't peaked yet. And I'm like, with that team, they didn't lose much from the year before, and they nearly they could have won the cup.
No.
So and Tampa, you had the feeling that they had peaked, and sometimes like Aaron said, if you walk away with the President's Trophy, there's so much pressure, and it's just like there's so much parity that it's often almost feels like a curse. Like
Kiss of death.
Yeah.
It really does. My best junior run was with Aaron, and we kind of, I'm not going to say underdogs, but I don't think anybody expected the final. We lost. Now, if Lance Ward didn't take a couple of 5-minute majors in Game 7 against, I don't blame just Lance. Fuck, man, but we had a good run with it, and we were. But I remember the reason is because we were underdogs. We felt like we couldn't lose. As a team. Which is, I'm sure, the way St. Louis felt this year.
Yeah.
I was surprised at that. If you told me the Islanders won it, I don't think I would have been any more surprised.
I think the Islanders moving back to the Barclays Center took the wind out of their sails.
Killed them.
Yep, took the wind out of their sails. The second they made that decision, I was like, well, they're done.
Yeah, that was the dumbest shit.
Yeah. That's. Well,
so are you?
It wasn't their fault though. Like
there's financial implications.
They had no say in it.
Yeah, I think it was strictly financial.
Yeah, it was all about the money going back to Barclays in the second round, and
so
just stupid because those first 2 games would have been different if they're at the Coliseum, guaranteed.
Oh yeah, I work with a diehard Islanders fan, and he was he doesn't get mad or animated much, but when that news release came out that there's no way, no how they're going back to the old barn, he was like red in the face all day.
I remember I asked you last time, but I can't remember. Ash, do you go to because you still work for the Islanders in some capacity, don't you? Or are you doing minor hockey?
I still work with the Isles. Yeah, I coach a few hockey teams. I do a lot of clinics, do appearances, show up, and go to the alumni suites and shake hands and do that sort of stuff. So it's definitely keep me involved in the game and keep me around. So who knows what's going to happen after? Maybe I'll move my way up, but I really like working with the kids. I'm working with some Bantam kids right now, and
so
they're all starting. Their games are all starting, to evolve, and
But
so
you're
I'm
training
just having a lot of
kids
fun working
now.
with the kids.
You're training kids now that would be a different. Like I'm training kids that go into the queue, and even though hockey has changed, or some of the OHL, or I don't. I'm talking personal lessons in the summer. I'm involved with some hockey schools, but. Yeah. I think it would be slightly different, even though the game is not as rough anymore. You're training a lot of kids that are going to U.S. college, right? Or prep schools.
College, there's prep schools, college. That's most the OHL, but there's very.
And are they giving you? Yeah. The OHL is an exception for them, just like U.S. college is an exception for the people that I'm with. And there's not a knock on either. I think each kid is different. Ash. You were major junior all the way. There was really no decision that you had to make. Whereas, there's certain guys that are college.
There's no way I was going to school.
And I don't mean because you're an idiot either. I mean the way you played. And at the time, Ash, you never were an idiot, but I bet you had grade fucking 9. Like I don't remember you spending too much time on your studies. I'm not knocking you. I'm not saying you're one of the smartest people I know.
I thought it was a spelling bee.
I'm not dumb at all. I fucking hated school, man.
Yeah.
I hated it.
And it's not like in Portage they were pushing Yale.
Especially being in junior and shit, and had women on my mind, we were boozing, we were playing hockey. This school was the last thing on my mind. But,
It's true. A lot of time.
You know,
a lot of times.
but
Yeah. I find that
now
to
it's
be
important. Back then, back in the friggin' 90s, it was friggin', school. What school?
yeah.
And
it was like
do you want to go to school this year? And I was 17. I was like, no. He was like, okay, don't go then. That's basically how it ended.
and guys, I find that the biggest challenge.
All
Like,
I only need a few credits. I probably should go and get it, but it just wasn't interesting.
you
to me.
guys,
when
I got to fucking Red Deer, I don't know what it was about Tri-Cities, but like we went to school and like certain like I remember Lankow, didn't want to, and again, none of these people are fools, but if you're not forced, and that's the thing I find hard about Major Junior when we were coming out. Like all of a sudden you're just because you feel like you're a professional, like you're going out. The average crowd that Arron and I, if you take Red Deer and Saskatoon and Portland, all the buildings that we played in, the average crowd that we played in front of was close to 10,000 people, right? Like average.
Yeah.
So this is normal as a teenager, and and not only that, in Red Deer, unlike Tri-City where you got to be 21, you had to be 18 to go to the bar, and no one even fucking cared. Like if you're 21, it's considerably more, so you can tell if this guy's not 21. But if you were
16 with
16?
Vandermeer hanging out at Ezzy's,
yeah,
it was like,
and it was almost like
they didn't have like
encouraged, and you get all these fans.
$10, they give you a cup, you drink all night. It was awesome.
Yeah,
Whoa.
that's the way it would go, guys. And then people, rather than there's people interviewing you. You know that scouts are looking at, and I'm not saying it from a point of view. We always trained hard, but school can be bottom of the barrel, and if no one's pushing it. That and I think that's why Major Junior back then especially now they have to, and I think back then no one realized in my immediate friends that you could go to Major Junior and still get your schooling paid for afterwards. No one even really talked about it. Like on every junior team I played on, only about half the guys even went to school. So I'm glad. I'm serious. Now my dad really fucking pushed it because he's a teacher, and I would never ever have been able to get away with it. But if I could have gotten away with it, I probably would have. Yeah. It's human nature.
I think that's anybody at that age, though. When I got my when I got my driver's license, was driving to school up in Labrador. My attendants just plummeted.
Yeah, and then
it's as soon as there's any kind of freedom to not do it, you don't.
And you go on the road, and you're expected. Like I remember, even Ash. You go to some places, and you consider them like, oh, Saskatoon, that's in northern Canada. But when you're in junior, I remember after a game me and Ash played there. I believe you fought someone. You had a great fight, and. Afterwards, all the boys got their stuff there. We had to stay over for some reason. We weren't going back to Red Deer. We were staying on an eastern swing. So, we had a hotel that night, and a bunch of the boys got their schoolwork there. And I remember there's one particular evening, but after the game, there's probably 10 or 12 real good-looking girls there. A few guys that we knew, but, it was a lot of girls. No, we're going to whatever bar in Saskatoon. You're like, okay, and what do we have to do tomorrow? Well, nothing. We got to ride a bus for 5 hours, and... when we finally get to where we're going, we have a light practice, then we'll have a meal, and, not much else. And then the next night, we're going to play in front of 10,000 people or 5 or whatever it might be, Moose Jaw, I don't know. But, so even though you know what you should do, but it just feels like, and all the boys are going out, and you end up coming together as a team and everything, which should be somewhat of a priority, but not over school. And that has changed. And so I'm kind of glad, but... For Arron and I coaching now, it's a different perspective because that's part of the conversation.
So you're telling me the math homework never got done that night?
I graduated. Hey, I speak for yourself. I graduated when I was 16. I was Scholastic Player of the fucking Western Hockey League. Thank you very much. So I'm speaking from Aaron's point of view, basically defending him though because he's not an idiot. He just didn't go to fucking school.
My first year in Red Deer, we had Peter Anholt as a coach, and my math class was always my first friggin' class. First semester, it was the first class, 8:30 or whatever time it was, always the first class. So whenever we went on the road, we'd get home at 3 a.m. and get up, go to school. So my math class was my sleeping class. So I'd get there, I'd put my book up, and I would sleep for a couple hours. So my report card came, and Peter Anholt, school called him and got a hold of my report card. And we have a team meeting, so there's everyone's at their stalls, and he has report cards out, and he's Mike Whitney, giving Witter shit, and he comes up to me. He was like, Arron fucking Asham, math class. He goes, 5% That's what my math. That's what my average was.
You see,
and he goes, I think you get 10% for putting your fucking name on the paper. I don't know what the fuck
That
you were
was
doing.
it. You didn't
Grounded
give
me
a
for a
fuck.
month. Grounded me for a month.
You kind of deserved it with a 5%.
So I went to school, went to practice, and I had to go home and spend the night in my room. I was fucking grounded my fucking first year in junior for a month straight.
That is.
It was awful.
That's
Fucking
hilarious.
awful.
I heard that
Me
story.
and Mike with me.
And
Yeah,
again,
5%.
yeah, that's just that.
Yeah.
And for people listening, that was the fucking era. That's the way it was. And if you give any kid, even a brilliant kid, that much leash, I mean, that's what'll happen. And everything worked out. We're talking to a guy that ended up starting a tournament and raising over $1 million for a bunch of kids that needs it. So in no way am I, and I'm sure you know that, putting you down for you just didn't try. A 5% is not trying. That's a definition.
No, it was sleeping. That's what it was.
It was sleeping.
I honestly want to know how you get 5% for sleeping.
Because he was counting sheep.
I don't know.
You got that
I don't
right.
know what was going on.
Yeah, he was counting
Oh,
sheep.
that's a
yeah.
pun. That's a good pun.
Now, Ash, so
It was
you're
a long month, I tell you that.
when you go back now. So when do you head back to Portage? The golf tournament is what day exactly? I get my date. Is it 18th, 19th?
It's on 18th and 19th. Yeah, I'm actually going to be. I'm going up to PI. I got a gala and a golf tournament on Saturday, Sunday. So I'm going to be able to see Darcy up there for a little bit,
Ash, you're not believing it.
which is going to be
You're
nice.
like, I'm going there to see Darcy as well on Thursday. I'm doing one
Are you
tournament.
serious?
I'm doing the boys and girls tournament in Charlottetown, and you're doing another
So
tournament.
that's what I'm doing.
No, you're not doing the boys and girls.
Oh, no, I'm doing the girls and boys club in O'Leary.
Yeah, I know. So I'm doing the
That-
one in Charlottetown the day before you.
Oh,
But-
are you going to stay there?
Well, I didn't know you were going there, so I'm flying in Thursday and I'm flying back Saturday. I didn't know the difference. I guess
Well,
if they want to
what
get
you
off
should've
their
done was
wallets
you
and
should've
treat
stayed and
one
we
to
would've-
get what?
we
Yeah.
we would have just flew right back to Winnipeg and then made it an extra long stay.
Yeah, I know. I didn't realize that was happening. At the very least, I'll see you the next weekend. Now I'm staying till Sunday because I'm assuming you got Saturday fishing set up. You told me that I'm flying out
we're good.
Thursday. I don't know anything about an itinerary, but she said, "Do you want to come back Friday night?" Or I think she said Saturday morning. I said, "Well, whatever. If it's over Saturday, I'll come back Sunday because Ash says he's going to take me fishing. How much truth is this?
Oh yeah, we'll go fishing for sure.
What are we going fishing for, and how long are we going? Like, how far is
Well,
the
what do you
drive?
want to fish for?
Well,
got-
because
no,
I
it's-
said yes in Alberta to
loose
Devin Frank
everywhere.
on, and we drove about 12 hours.
We can go for pickerel. We'll go for pickerel and walleye.
Yeah,
Some
okay.
Big pikes.
It's within like an hour or two
No,
from
it's,
Port.
it's within an hour for sure. 40 minutes max.
I love how you have to leave
So-
Newfoundland and go to Portage to go fishing. It's
Yeah.
the subtle irony there.
You know what's funny? Around here, you see
Yeah,
salmon
that is
fish.
weird.
Yeah, I know it is weird, but out there, they get up north. I suck at salmon fishing. That's the biggest thing here. But there's rules. You can't have a barb on your. You can only on your hook.
Dude, I grew up in Grand Falls. I've never been salmon fishing.
Yeah, so I've been
Labrador, same.
I just can't catch anything, and I love trout fishing or trouting like around the corner,
Yeah.
but trout aren't big here.
No.
You go up in northern Alberta and northern Manitoba, and you get the first cast. Last time I was in northern Alberta, again, Devin Francon or Chad Cabana it was, told me ex-player, remember Cabby? He's like, oh yeah, we'll go fishing, and then I just go, okay, where am I going to meet you in the morning? And I had to drive to Bonnieville. I'm like, it's fucking 7 hours. But now, first cast, fucking huge jackfish. What do they call those, pike or whatever, jackfish? What I noticed was
pikes,
the fish that I were catching were much bigger. Now, we can go on the ocean here, and I can get a codfish 60 pounds. I enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
But just there's certain fish up there, like he just mentioned walleye,
Yeah.
pickering, they're not here.
No.
So it is a little
well,
bit
No,
The
but
walleye were here and we beat them.
but also the
And
Winnipeg
those are
baseball team of the walleye.
Tasty fish too.
Are they? The Winnipeg baseball team.
We're actually Saturday, Newfie. We're gonna have a fish fry at my old man's place. Have a poker night Saturday. So after we do the fishing, we'll go to my dad's. And we'll fry up some pickerel and
Okay.
we'll maybe fry up some bannock, and we'll have a nice little feast there and play some cards and have some fun. Definitely with my old man.
Okay, that's what I like to hear. And there is a chance I'll see you in PEI next week, but I mean, who knows? I didn't even know you were going to that, Ash. And Darce was actually on our show a few weeks ago.
I know Darcy's known I've been going out there for a month now. I think.
When we say Darcy,
at least 3 weeks.
we're talking about Darcy Harris for those viewers or listeners that don't know. Darcy was our guest 2 weeks ago.
Love those PEI guests.
Yeah, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
love them. No.
Good people out there.
Yeah, definitely.
And you know what? Next year, guys, we should all make a point early to go out to Aaron's tournament.
Yeah.
I'd have to be a caddy. I can't golf.
No,
Yeah, we just sit there and do this.
yeah, that's all we fucking do is sit down top.
So I just
That
show
I
up.
can- that I can do.
Golfing is secondary. This thing is just a blast, man. It's just for lack of a better word, it's a party raising money in the middle of the summer for hockey players and locals alike, and it's a great thing. There's not many tournaments I go to that the vibe is this positive. A lot of them is what now. I go to one every couple of years in Toronto, and like Eric Lindros is there, and like the legend. You look at my Instagram photos. I mean, fucking Wendell Clark and Darcy Tucker. You go down the list, but the thing is, they're really big, and it's almost overwhelming. There's so many superstars there, and it's like in Mississauga. So like, it's just like the fans are almost there's almost too much to take in. But you go to Aaron's, you can get personal with these people. Like locals are going to be sitting there shooting the shit with Ron McLean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that's
and
the
that's
difference.
that's fucking deadly. Like that's the dream right there, right? Like
It
it's
is.
but yeah, it sounds like it's a hell of a tournament because I know you talked about it the last time you were on the show.
Oh yeah, no, you don't know.
Yeah.
This is the big event of the summer. So how long then are you staying? You've got update me now where your kids are. You've got
I am
your two
I'm
daughters.
actually going to be leaving on the Tuesday. I'm going up to the Yukon. I got to go do a hockey school up there for 3 days. So after that, I'll be gone from the house for a couple weeks total. So it's going to be busy. But my daughters are in Aislinn and Ocean are back in Manitoba.
I'll see them.
Daughter's
Okay.
working at Simplot. Yeah, you'll see them. And Ocean's plugging away playing hockey. She's doing well for herself.
I see that. Yeah, that's been great. I see you post the odd tweet, and it's been for me. I feel like I was there just last year, but it's been about 5 years, so she probably will look a lot older. Okay, so
they're all grown up now.
And what about your family in New York? Are they going to come?
Oh no, we actually were home in June. We went up. I took my boys fishing up north for 3 nights, and the wife stayed and hung out with some of her friends in Portage, and we were there for a week, visited some family, did some fishing, and
Beautiful.
hung out, which was nice. So it's just going to be me this time.
Oh no, well, it's a lot to take on anyway. To be honest with you, it would probably be hard to have. If I was going to do the same,
Well,
just even talk. It's such a busy weekend, is all. It's such a busy weekend.
Yeah, it's tough, but they got to come in June and see the family and friends and stuff. So
No, that's
now
beautiful.
it's my turn to.
And what's the hookup in
to come
Yukon?
in.
With Yukon Hockey School? How did this?
Yeah, I've been out there with I do a lot of work with John Chabot, and we have a Indigenous alumni tour that we go travel up north here, remote communities. We play hockey, we play a game, we go to schools, we talk with the kids, and just to show them, we've come up for some hard lifestyles and tough upbringings, and we just try to give them some faith that if you put your heart to it, put your mind to it, you guys can do whatever you want. We go out there and we try to send out a good message and mingle with the people and sign autographs and do all that sort of stuff. So I kind of got hooked up through there. I'm good friends with the Grand Chief of Yukon, so he asked me to come up, and it's going to be my second year up there. So it's just great country. I love it up there.
You should. No, that's great. I was just thinking for your golf tournament next week. How far doesn't Mike Whitney live around there somewhere, or am I wrong? I was just thinking any ex-Rebels around there. Oh, he's in Swift Current. He was from there, wasn't he? Yeah.
He's in Swifty, which is like 6-7 hours.
It's a while, yeah. I was thinking Manitoba.
Yeah.
Just
too bad,
because
'cause he's a blast.
I'm watching his posts too. Mike Whitney used to be a goalie that played with us guys in the late '90s, and he was a great guy. He was Phil Kesselish in that, just like before the game, like just eating a hot dog. Where he was a little bit overweight, but he'd drop the mitts. He'd fight sometimes. He was kind of great for the team, and
great.
still is a bit of a.
That's how I'm going to describe my physique on
goalie.
Tinder now, Phil Kesselish.
Yeah. Well, and he's a goalie, I should say.
Yeah.
He's a goalie, and he would get in fights. Here and there.
Gotta love a good goalie fight.
Yeah, he wasn't even good at fighting. He just liked to do it for a laugh. But anyway, Listen, I can't wait to see you. I can't believe, again, another 40 minutes have gone by. Do you guys have any questions for Aaron?
Well,
right
the when this episode actually is going to drop, it's just going to be a couple days before the tournament. So if there's anybody listening to this that's up in the Winnipeg area, wants to get involved, wants to come by and check it all out, how is it going to be too late for them at that point? Or are they still able to get in?
There might be a table or two open at dinner. I'm not sure, but I believe the golf's completely sold out. It sells out pretty quick, but they can. But if if someone's interested, they can call the CFS in Portage La Prairie, Manitoba. They have all the information, and they can do all the booking. And it's a great time. I wasn't supposed to say Doc Walker was coming, but
and if
but they're.
Secret's out now.
They're
yeah, you weren't supposed to, but you did.
Now.
And the other thing is
they're playing, but they're definitely coming, and we're gonna set something up for them. So
if the other thing is a lot of people if the tables are sold out, you're free to come by and bid on something. There's a silent auction. You're free to come by and donate money. So if you can't get it, it's unbelievable. Go ahead.
We got jerseys. We got a trip to Vegas for 2.
Oh.
I'm going to donate a trip up to New York to an Islanders game, a night out in the city for dinner and airfare and hotel. So we got some good prizes. So if you guys come on by, make some bidding. It's for a good cause. It's for the children. So it's not going anywhere but to the kids.
That's fantastic.
Nice.
Well, listen, buddy. I'll be talking to you next week. I can't wait to see you.
Yeah.
If anybody
it's
from
going to be a blast.
It's going to be a blast. Lastly, I guess they can follow you. What's your is it the real Arron Asham on Twitter?
Yeah, the real Arron Asham. Is it the real Arron Asham 45? I don't know.
That's what it is. I think it's the real Arron Asham 45 on Twitter. To follow Ash there and leading up to the or me, I'm Terry Ryan 20 on Twitter. Follow me. I'll be talking about the event, and it's called Aaron's Chance to Play. If you want to go online and you want to check it out, it's in Portage La Prairie, Manitoba. Next weekend, the 18th, and
Well, it'll be this weekend when you're.
It'll be this weekend.
This will go next. Yeah,
there you go. When this drops, it'll be this weekend, and I know I got a lot of my buddies in Edmonton, led by Dustin Killer Kelly. If you guys want to come down, we're around. I can't wait to see my Manitoba friends pretty soon. Thanks, buddy.
It's going to be a good time.
All right, thanks,
no
Ash.
problem, bud.
Good hearing from you, Asham.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
No problem, bud.
Penny Posh, maternity wear reimagined, breaking the barriers of style, fit, and comfort that often leave mothers-to-be uninspired in their new wardrobe. Penny Posh's designs have reinvented a clothing category often seen as disposable, temporary, and unattractive. Well, not with Penny Posh. Check it out. A continuous fit maternity collection from bump to bundle and beyond. You can check them out on Twitter at Penny_Posh, on Instagram at PennyPosh_maternity, and of course on their website, www.pennyposhdesigns.com. Penny Posh Designs, maternity wear reimagined.
Okay, so huge thanks to Ash for coming back on the show. It's always good to have a chance to chat with him and stuff, and of course Dave before him, who we had some great stuff with. I'm really looking forward to that book.
Same.
Oh, baby,
it's going to be great.
It's
I can't wait.
Busy episode here, folks.
It was quite a busy episode. So of course, if when you're listening to this, if you're listening to the week it drops, Aaron's Chance to Play is happening this weekend in Portage La Prairie, Manitoba. So if you're around the area, even if you can't get a table, like the boys said, you can always get out and just check out stuff, make some bids on some auction items, and a bunch of other cool things.
It's great. We also have a home run derby, slow pitch softball for people. It's one of those things. I didn't mention everything, but it's an all-day event, and it's a lot to fun, man. It's
sounds like it takes over the town when it happens.
It does. It takes over the town,
and that's great. And again, it's such a good cause.
Go if nothing else, go bid on a jersey for me, who's not going to be there. Big jersey nerd. Go have a look. If you got something to play with, it goes to a great cause. Have a look at the jersey table. Aaron just mentioned a lot of jerseys up for grabs.
Yes.
And other than that, I don't know. I mean, it's been a couple long interviews, so it's kind of hard to think if we talked about what we. Chuck.
Oh, I've got one more thing. So this one's Aaron in a good gap from now. Today is the 8th of July. So I'm going to say that when you're hearing this, Mitch Marner already signed an offer sheet.
There you go. That's his prediction. If you're listening to this,
He's trying to go Nostradamus.
Oh
on it.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think
get
what's happened is
get a
that
photo of me taking holding up today's paper.
I think what happens is that every time Chuck says anything on this show in the future, he's wrong. So he's just trying to like pad his shit so Marner doesn't sign an offer
I
sheet.
can't even think of anything that's happened in the last day or two that I.
All is quiet today. Kevin LeBlanc.
Did you say all was Kawhi?
All is quiet.
Because Kawhi went on Saturday.
Yeah, well, we don't need to beat that.
No, we
to
don't
death.
need.
we
Yeah,
talked about it enough.
everyone has heard every take
All
on
I'll
that.
fucking say is
But-
good luck. You gave us a year, and good luck in your home.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be fun.
One thing, as we were recording this today, Kevin LeBlanc or LeBlanc? Does he go by LeBlanc or LeBlanc?
I don't know.
Sharks player. Anyways, highly touted restricted free
I've
agent.
heard both.
Yeah, he signed a 1 year with the Sharks for $1 million flat. Very, very low price tag for him. I guess he wants to stay there. I imagine it's an ultimate course of a player betting on himself, fitting in under that Sharks cap, and that'll be something if the Sharks are playing next June. The guy who,
All right.
you know,
I like players who bet on themselves.
I love that.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah, big fan too.
I love taking a short term and just being like, I'm gonna get better.
It's not
in a
my
couple
risk
years.
to take.
By the way, listen, I think we might have forgotten one other thing here.
What's that?
There's something else that's going to happen soon. What about when is your actual wedding day here?
By the time anybody's hearing this, I will be married.
Oh,
I'm getting married. It is Monday right now. I am getting married on Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So I had my bachelor party last weekend. It was a fucking time. I don't know it. I was definitely the drunkest man in Canada on Saturday. I don't care what Chuck says and tries to put in his own word on it. I started drinking. I got on screeching orange juice at 10 o'clock in the
Oh
morning.
yeah, you got me beat.
Oh man.
And I continued. I stumbled home at like 3:30.
You beat me.
And
You
I was
beat me
lucky
an
that
hour
I
each
was lucky
way.
that one of my buddies who was down from Ottawa, who came down, and he's from home, so he's down in Central with his family, came out for just the weekend for it and stayed with me. If he hadn't like given me if he wasn't staying at my house and got me home out of it, I don't fucking know, man.
Wow.
But yeah, it was a fucking time.
Where are you getting married now?
I'm getting married here downtown.
Which place?
I'm not saying good. Well, by the
it'll
Rocket,
be
so
over,
it doesn't
yeah.
matter. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's
Rocket.
over.
I don't want anybody crashing the wedding after they hear it on the podcast, but it'll be over by then, so it's fine.
That's where the wedding I was at this weekend.
Yeah,
was
it's
it?
a good room. It's
It
gonna be
is a
fun.
very
I know
nice
the room.
Yeah, it's gonna be
That's
good. It's
Great
gonna be
room.
Very
Great
nice
room.
wedding
I've
room.
been at one down there.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
And then what do you guys? So are you gonna honeymoon now or in the future?
We're doing a bit of both. Our plan is we just got back. Obviously, you guys know I was in Mexico for the guy who won the best man games. The guy's gonna be my best man. He got married in May, and so we were in Mexico for his wedding in May. So for this one, we're just doing like vacation, hitting some spots around Newfoundland, just doing a couple nights here and there for a week or so, and then coming back to town. And then next year, we're saying for our like first anniversary, we'll do something a bit bigger.
Well, listen, man. Good luck. It's a life-changing thing, and obviously, we just wish you nothing but the best. And
Thanks,
really
buddy. I appreciate that.
great people, and I really am excited to see you again. And hopefully, we get to do this again. Who knows? And but look, either way, look, up to this point, because we're going to go on a little bit of a break now. Like I said, I'm not sure that I'm coming back, but it's been an absolutely great time with you guys so far. And if nothing else, let's say if it ends now, I've had an unbelievable time. And the next time I see you, either way, you're going to be married. So,
Married man.
Good luck with that, Mike.
Thanks.
Congratulations. And
Thank
it's
you,
been
sir.
great working with both of you.
This has been
Thank you.
fantastic. It's been a lot of fun, and I can't wait. I know, like you said, we're taking, and you're going to be back. This is all going to work out. We're going to be
Who
fine.
knows?
We're gonna see you in a couple weeks. But until then, you can find me at Hickey, Mike.
At Smokes Indoors.
I'm at Terry Ryan 20 on Twitter and at Terry Ryan 2020 on Instagram.
And we are at 3MI Podcast everywhere else. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. This has been a pile of fun, and we'll be back at you to shout about hockey sometime soon.